Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 o'clock. Thank you for being here. I love to see that you're such an excited crowd today. You're all happy about being here and doing government business. We are going to get started with the invocation, and Commissioner Janet Barrick will lead us in the invocation, and Commissioner Rebecca Bays will lead us in the pledge. And if you all may rise.
Dear Lord, we ask you to be with us today as we go over the business of Citrus County. We ask you to be with those that are here, those that are watching at home and cannot be here. We ask you to take care of our first responders, all of them, the police, the EMS, the nurses, the doctors, everybody. And we ask you to be with the people in other parts of the United States that are having problems. We pray that those problems start to cease and cease quickly, and that good comes from whatever happens. We pray that you be with everyone here as they go home. And thank you for everything you have done for this county. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Madam Clerk, would you like to do the roll call?
This is a regular meeting of the Citrus County Board of County Commissioners on this 27th day of January 2026. In attendance are Chair Diana Finnegan, First Vice Chair Janet Barrick, Second Vice Chair Jeff Kennard, Commissioner Rebecca Bays, Commissioner Holly Davis, County Administrator Steve Howard, and County Attorney Denise Diamond Lynn.
Thank you, ma'am. It's time to approve the agenda. Mr. Howard, do you have any corrections?
I do. A few. E3, the Florida Commerce Environmental Review Form for state CDBG-DR grant. The state local identifier should be MS001 on page 1 of 5, and an X should be placed for item 5 on page 2 of 5. G1, legislative updates, just a PowerPoint added for Legislative Days event in Tallahassee. J2, Historical Resources Advisory Board nominations and appointments. Mr. Jeffrey Wells is withdrawing his name from the HRAB Advisory Board nominations. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Board?
I move that we accept the agenda as presented by the county administrator.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrick, second by Commissioner Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment? Sorry about that. All right, moving right along. Proclamations and awards.
Motion to approve B1 and B2.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Bays, second by Commissioner Barrick. Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, please meet me up front.
Would all those representing Keep Citrus County Beautiful Pride Award for Deborah Canfield please make your way forward? Whereas Citrus County Beautiful, an affiliate of Keep America Beautiful and Keep Florida Beautiful, was incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit organization in 2001 to encourage personal responsibility and community stewardship for litter abatement, recycling awareness, and community beautification. And whereas Keep Citrus County Beautiful created the Pride Award to recognize those individuals and organizations volunteering their personal time and efforts to preserving our county's natural beauty and environmental health by reducing litter, promoting recycling, and beautifying our community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Citrus County Commissioners of Citrus County, Florida joins with Keep Citrus County Beautiful in commending and thanking Deborah Canfield for her personal commitment and noteworthy environmental stewardship and combating litter in support of the Beautify Citrus goal of preserving Citrus County as a place where people and nature live in harmony. Executed this 27th day of January, 2026.
Individuals and organizations across our county that help keep our county beautiful. many years ago, Keep Citrus County Beautiful created this Pride Award for that very reason. So we look to you as the public too to say you have some unsung heroes in your neighborhood, or you have businesses or organizations that are out there picking up the litter or helping with recycling or doing beautification projects. Please let us know. Go on to KCCB's website or our Facebook page and let us know there are unsung heroes out there as well. But today we are recognizing Deb and all of her hard effort in working along Citrus Avenue and with the Crystal Rivers Women's Club and all that they do as well. So once again, another round of applause for Deb. Thank you.
May I have the HR Director please come forward, Jessica?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm so happy to be here to recognize 3 employees that exemplify excellence in public service, professionalism, dedication, and commitment to the citizens of Citrus County. I'd like to first call up Bobby Bayard, our Senior Customer Service Specialist from Management and Budget. Bobby consistently delivers outstanding customer service and is often the first welcoming face at the Lecanto Government Building. Bobby supports her coworkers and serves as a trusted resource for both employees and the public. Thank you, Bobby. Next, I'd like to welcome Courtney Marsh, Communications Specialist in Fire Rescue. Courtney consistently exceeds expectations in her role. She manages all state and federal grants and has played a key role in securing approximately $1.5 million in grant funding. Thank you, Courtney. And last, I'd like to call up Leda Riviera, Administrative Assistant 3 in Community Services. Leda has been recognized as an employee that consistently goes above and beyond in her role, demonstrating exceptional dedication to both her team and clients that the county serves. She is truly the go-to person. Thank you.
Okay, board, it looks like we have time for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Bays, second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment? Come on up.
All right, Curtis Bryant, Lecanto. C7, setting the public workshops for the impact fees. I think we all agree that impact fees should be looked at. The question I have here is we did this in July, I think, of last year. It went into effect in October. Now, 3 months later, we're going to come back and potentially raise them again for a second time. We used our extraordinary circumstances, which cited growth in the study and all that for the first round. What is our extraordinary circumstance to go back and do it again? Is this something that we asked the state that we're able to do? I hate to see staff spend all this time going through all these workshops and putting together materials, only for the state to come back and say, you guys did this in October, you should have got it right the first time. And now we're asking for a second option. In case you guys didn't notice, the Attorney General for Florida has nixed the impact fee increase for Nassau County, because they cited growth as the reason for wanting to come back to the board for impact fee increases. And the state said that you can't do it based on growth. Reading through our study is mostly based on growth. There is some things with construction and stuff like that in inflation. So I just want you guys to think about that, check with staff, make sure that we're able to go through this process rather than wasting the time going through it for the state to come back and reject the ability to do that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Renee Bedford, Flow City, Florida. I guess this is E3, Florida Commerce Environmental
Hey,
Review.
Renee, we're not there yet. We're on consent agenda.
I know, I just wanted to say one thing. As far as the data centers, I was going to propose that we could all have a workshop, because I don't believe any of us are all that well informed. The environmental hazard economics, is it possible to have a workshop before we approve or disapprove of any zoning ordinances or anything associated with it? Could we all get informed and have a workshop?
I think that's definitely something the board can talk about.
That's all I need to
Thank you for
say.
that. Love the jacket. I love that. Anybody else about the consent agenda? Okay, I'll close open to the public. Board? Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have a couple minutes maybe for one open to the public before we do our time certain. And on our consent agenda, I don't know if we're prepared to talk about that now with our impact fees, but maybe that's something that can be addressed, Mr. Howard, later. Okay. Yes, James, it's regular open to the public, but we have a time certain at 1:15.
Okay. My name's James Parada, live on Village Center Drive, number 4 in Homosassa. And I just want to take a quick minute of your time to introduce myself to you. I've applied to the Library Advisory Board, and I just wanted you to see who I am. And I have 30 years of experience in education. I've worked with libraries my whole career as a principal, so I'm aware of what goes on there, and if I can help in any way, I'd be glad to do that. Currently serve on the Early Childhood Learning Board with Ms. Barrick. I've worked a couple of years as the president of Sugar Mill Woods Civic Association with Commissioner Finnegan, and so I have a lot of experience with boards, and I'm happy to help if there's any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you, James. You forgot to mention that you are an accomplished author. I have read your book. He wrote a book for youth. Okay, I'll take one more.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Karen Esty. I'm here again back on my quest for the Independence Highway sidewalk. And I've had communication with the MPO director, Mr. Esposito, regarding funding. And my concern is the Transportation Alternative Fund, because that amount of money was used for the Withlacoochee Trail, all of it. Then when this item comes up, since it's priority 1 on the transportation alternative list, the answer back to me was that if this goes forward, it would use all the funding for the Transportation Alternative Fund. And he was concerned that Hernando would not get any funding from this. But Hernando doesn't really have the trails that we have to move people around. So my concern is being able to get funding to start this and complete it. This needs to go on a hot plate and turn it on high, and let's get it done. As you all know, this is kind of like a little micro-urban area where people need to get moving around from Whispering Pines Park to the trail. It would help people with disabilities to be able to walk, get the kids off the right-of-ways, so on and so forth. You've heard all of this before. So if there's anything this board can do, any alternative funding that you may have, I certainly would appreciate it. And then also, I think I emailed for you for that program or that presentation you're going to have for the acetate overlays on that. That would be a really great visual for everybody who happens to be seeing that. So I appreciate you doing that. Thanks, Commissioner Davis, for doing that, and Commissioner Finnegan. I appreciate your help. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. It's 1:15, Bob. Come on. Come on. Make it snappy.
Well,
Everyone's going to want to do this then. Don't do it.
I'm Skater Bob, Floral City. Last week, and the title of this short presentation is called "Don't Let the Camel's Nose Under Your Tent." Last week in Tallahassee, the sessions during legislation days were very informative. One of the meetings was with Wilton Simpson, the Florida Commissioner of Agriculture. At the meeting, he indicated that there's an effort for various counties to work together to share their water resources. I asked the commissioner if he is aware of existing legislation which does not allow any county to take water from other counties unless the existing water resources are depleted in that county. He indicated he was not aware of that legislation. He indicated that it was an old law, and he seemed to indicate that there will be changes in water distribution in the future without providing any specifics. There was a statute championed by Senator Nancy Argenziano, who was able to get the Florida statute, Chapter 373, adopted and established in 2004, named a local sources first policy. The statute fundamentally was an application and permitting criteria for consumptive use of water managed under Chapter 373 of the Florida statutes. It essentially blocked any water withdrawals from adjacent counties, significantly, as far as we're concerned, Hillsborough and Pinellas counties. It seems today that this legislation is being threatened. It's absolutely essential that Citrus County and adjacent counties protect our aquifer. Several counties south of us have already depleted their underground water supply and had to resort to building expensive desalination plants. In addition, the counties south of Citrus are taking surface water directly from their rivers for treatment into potable water. Citrus County is a target for obtaining high-quality, pure water. We're blessed with an aquifer which provides very high-quality drinking water directly from our aquifer with very little processing, mostly only chlorine. Several years ago, Floral City Water Association was rated as the highest quality water in the state of Florida for 2 years in a row. We only infuse very low concentration of chlorine. That's it. We pull it right out of the aquifer and we put a little bit of chlorine in Floral City water. Can you imagine the environmental impact of drawing high volumes of water from our aquifer and our rivers, such as Withlacoochee, Crystal River, Homosassa, and Chatzawiska?
Thank you, Bob.
So don't let the camel's nose under our tent.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to our time certain now. You're welcome. We are hearing from presentation from Nature Coast Forever Conservation Planning Study. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. I'm Ramesh Butch, and I'm the Director of Conservation Acquisitions for the North Florida Land Trust, your contractor for this planning study. And I'm here to present to you in a few minutes the results of our Task 1 under that contract. Heather Nagy, my colleague, won't be here to join me. She's got some other obligations. Which way do I point this? There he goes. A little bit about the Land Trust, and I'll go through these slides very quickly. Folks who want to learn more about us can come to our workshops next week that we're having here in Citrus County. But we're a 501c3 nonprofit land trust. Our role primarily is to help landowners achieve a conservation outcome from their property by finding ways for them to be financially rewarded, either by finding cash for them or accepting donations of property. We've been fairly successful since we've been around. Our service area is primarily in the northeast part of the state. However, we do this kind of work, green printing, anywhere that we're asked, where a community says, hey, help us have this conversation about whether or not preserving more green space is something our community would like to do. This is a slide that I developed to try to explain the benefits of open space. As you go around the circle, starting with conserving wildlife, I think these are the ones that folks are most familiar with when it comes to the benefits from open space. Clearly, you have manatees, you have scrub jays, you have all kinds of gopher tortoises, you have all kinds of animals, several types of endangered habitat. As we go around the circle, though, some of these things, these benefits, folks may not be as familiar with. One of the things we learned in COVID was that local agriculture is vital to our national and food security. And so we need to keep farms and farming. It's vital to our economy. The next you have to do with water. You heard a presentation earlier about drinking water. A lot of people don't realize that we're mining old rainfall. And in some places in the state, that rainfall that we're pulling out of the ground is only a week old. Here, it's a little older, but the quality that goes into the ground has a lot to do with how much it costs to take it out of the ground and then treat it and deliver it to folks. Also, green spaces absorb stormwater and mitigate damages to urban infrastructure. People are familiar with recreation and green space recreation. The last two are the ones I find that people are least familiar with. Green spaces add greatly to communities' tax value by creating amenity value for residences and commercial property. People want to site buildings and homes where they can walk to and have access to parks. And then finally, one that's maybe not applicable here to Citrus County, but we work around the state helping buffer our military installations so they can remain mission capable. What happens is folks will encroach on those fence lines and then start to complain about the noise, the overflights, and create a safety hazard for folks that have to perhaps bail out of an aircraft, much rather do it over a field than over a subdivision. Green printing is what we call the term where we have a conversation with the community. We first of all have met with your subject matter experts, and I appreciate the time and effort of the 41 folks that we have talked to around the county. We take that input, and based on science and data that we have available to us, we can translate those to what we call conservation values. These are broad themes like water issues, recreation, historic preservation, that folks can apply data to and then evaluate property. We then test those using the community. That's going to be happening next week. And then we provide you some recommendations in the green print. And I refer to this as a line of sight. So those of you who are hunters, on the left side of the slide, this is what the community desires needs to be saved when we're losing water, want to provide water resources. On the far right side of this line are the kinds of lands that deliver those benefits. Well, how do you make sure you get to what you want? You put things in place that get you there. So for example, if you're going to have a referendum, have language that says, does the property you're going to acquire recharge aquifers? And then you need a tool that says the property that's being nominated, does it have good recharge? And so if you line those things up, you will get the portfolio you want that delivers the benefits that people are perceiving are being lost. We call this the line of sight analogy. So this is what a green print will look like. It's a fairly lengthy document in two sections. One will be the results of the work that we do, telling the county commission, sort of informing them, this is the benefits and these are the conservation values your community has. You'll have some maps that show you where these resources, these conservation values are located, and we'll have the results of the community input. The second part of the document is a sort of model program that you can use and borrow from if you want to implement a land conservation program. Where are we on the process is we have just completed task 1. We're about to engage in task 2, which is the community workshops. Again, that's next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll finalize the green print, bring it back to the board. You can then adopt that and then decide what you'd like to do come November, if anything. And this is why we talk about a referendum. I've made this point before. Land conservation is not a core service. You all are very keenly aware of what's going on in Tallahassee, the pressure that's being placed on local governments to provide these services. So we say if you're going to do land conservation, you need to find a way to fund that without further impacting EMS and those other essential services. And so it's appropriate to ask the public if they want to dip into their pockets and maybe raise a little bit more money for this. This is an example referendum from Polk County. You can see the first line has what I call the conservation values, water resources, environmental lands, fish and wildlife habitat. That's where we're in the process of determining what your referendum, what your first sentence would look like. The second, the rest of that, where it talks about ad valorem or not, or it's sales tax, those are all information that will come out of the third part of the study, which does a deep dive into what the voters' tolerances are and whether or not something would even pass in November. The green box at the bottom just assures you that you're not alone. Since 1999, 105 of 123 referenda have passed. That's over 85%. The average margin is 2-1 in favor. $5.5 billion in additional funds have been raised, and 27 counties have passed to 73 referenda. So several counties have passed more than one. So now we get to the conservation values that we've been able to determine so far. This chart, and I need to put my glasses on to read it. Got to find my spectacles first. Getting old is not for the, right? Getting old is not for the wicked. The first line is, so this data is from the Florida Natural Areas Inventory. And what it does is it looks at every county and the state and says how much land, how much acreage is in conservation. So the first line is Citrus County. You have 310 acres in that's locally owned, it's 0.8%. The second column is state-owned conservation land. You have 124,100 acres. 33% of your county is state-owned. You have 9,000 acres, that's about 2.5%, that's federally owned, and you have another 500 acres that's privately owned. We actually own some property, about 30 acres on Withlacoochee River. We, the Land Trust, does. Total 133,970 acres. The county acreage is about 373. That it totals about 36% of your total. You are, congratulations, ahead of the state average for counties. The county average, if you exclude military bases, is about 27.5%. So, looking at metrics and determining what you should be doing in terms of, is there a need for land conservation? I always preach there's a couple of things you can look at this. You can look at just the gross averages and say, hey, we're ahead of the state average. We don't have to do anything. That is true, and you are fortunate to be blessed that the state has spent a lot of time protecting resources in Citrus County. The question is, do you want to stay ahead? And how have you done as a local government protecting the resources that may be important to you that don't rise to the level of state and federal importance? So drilling down a little bit, looking at the deficits, what I would call the deficits, which is the difference between the acreage that you have and what the average for the county is by those categories. The average acreage, percentage-wise, that's owned locally is about 5,800 acres. You have 300. So you could argue there's a deficit there in terms of locally important conservation property. Again, you're way ahead on the state average. You're behind on the federal average, so maybe putting some pressure on your state legislators. And then you're again behind on the private, which is a failing of land trusts and individuals like me. So in all, you're ahead. The question is, do you want to stay ahead? And two, is the expectation of your community be higher than what the state average would otherwise provide? Remember, the state average is just one metric. You might have a community that has blessed with tremendous resources, and therefore you need to preserve more of it than other communities, for example.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
You were talking earlier about identifying lands that recharge the aquifer, and it may be too early to ask this question, but for all of that state land, do we know if any of that is land that's recharging the aquifer?
Madam Chair, I'm happy to advance to that slide, or we can get to it in
My
due course.
apologies.
No, I'm happy
I didn't
you
know
asked.
how many slides, so I wouldn't want to have a question, then you're like, oh, we have to go way, way back.
No,
But
no.
I'll be patient
I
and
really
wait.
know. I appreciate you asking, because that topic created for me personally and for the folks we talked to some of the biggest eye-opening moments is exactly that question. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
Thank you.
So talking to our subject matter experts, and again, these are representatives from industry, the economy, recreation, historic and cultural resources, NGOs, the Water Management District, Native Plant Society, Audubon. We asked them several questions, and if you take the graph from left to right, the first 5 columns, we said very high level, which of these 5 areas should the county be most concerned about? Water resources, habitat and species, working lands and rural lifestyles, or outdoor rec and quality of life. You can see that the first column, water issues, garnered almost 50% of the results, saying this was their number one, what should be the number one priority. So drilling down into those 5 or those 4 categories a little deeper, looking at water issues, aquifer recharge, question you just asked, was the number one vote getter, so 44%. Looking at agricultural property, looking at habitats, the category that garnered the most votes was most vulnerable habitats. So this is defined as those habitats that are defined by the state as being most under threat statewide. And you have examples of that here in Citrus County. Looking at your farmland and agricultural property, 50% voted for existing farms and ranch lands that are most vulnerable to conversion to non-ag uses. What that means is these are the farms that are under most pressure. And even when I said, well, I appreciate you voting at number one, you understand that some of these can be the most expensive per acre farmland you might want to buy, and they didn't change their votes. So you're getting not much acreage for the same dollars that you might be getting if you bought land or preserved land further away from the development pressure. So I'm not one who would say, you know, we need to strangle development in its cradle. I think growth is coming. We need to be able to manage that growth. There should be areas that maybe should be developed. But that didn't sway people. They said this is the most vulnerable farmland. We want that protected first. So that was interesting to me. And then finally, looking at the quality of life questions, the folks, it was fairly evenly spread between proximity to existing and planned trails and cultural and historic resources and service area, underserved areas for parks. These were the three that were the highest vote getters in terms of adding amenities to existing quality of life. So for example, parks or cultural resources. So to the maps. These are the 7 maps that we will provide next week. There is the top left-hand map should be surface water, and I have an example of that in a minute. It shouldn't be duplicated cultural and historic resources. But the drinking water map, let me get to that right now and show you that map. Oh, before we do that, these are the results of the votes for the commission. We went ahead and asked you your number 1 votes of these maps. You can see that the 4 out of 4 of you put drinking water as your number 1. Wildlife and conservation corridors came in second at 2.5. And then there was a tie between agriculture and recreation for third. So thinking about that top line in a future referendum, if that's the way you want to go, these would be the 3 things that you may want to think about, assuming the public supports this: drinking water resources, wildlife conservation corridors, and then some combination of agriculture and recreation.
I'm gonna butt in here because people are probably wondering why I don't have a vote up there. And you're nodding yes, because I had an appointment with them, I scheduled, and the governor called and wanted to give us money. So I went to go get Citrus County money. But I'm sure that you're dying to know, Commissioner Finnegan's number 1 is going to be drinking water. For sure.
If you would like to just email that to me, I can add that for the final report.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And
Thank
that
you.
is, yes, I was very sorry not to have met you.
Yes.
And had the conversation. All right, so the next steps, we're going to meet with the community next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The county is going to put the notice where the meetings are being held. They're being held around the county. They're all at the same time, I believe. They're starting in the evening for folks to be able to attend. And then finally, if someone cannot attend one of those 3 meetings, we're going to record that exact same presentation and provide a link to a survey tool that allows folks to provide their input online. We'll have that live for 2 weeks, and then we'll add all that data, and that becomes part of your final report. I want to get to the drinking water slide. So that's the drinking water slide. And just to orient folks, anything that's in that sort of army green color are existing conservation lands in Citrus County. Anything that's in gray is defined by the census tract as urban area. So anything that's in white, or has a other color, are what we call the opportunity areas for this particular value. In this case, it's drinking water. So this is aquifer recharge. What you'll notice is that your highest priority recharge areas, the darkest blue, are not under the green spaces that you have protected. So what that means is that there could be uses on the surface that then affects the quality of the water going into the ground and causing you all, because you provide the water, making it more expensive to treat and pull out of the ground and deliver it to folks. So I think this is not unique to Citrus County. I think this is why drinking water in this state is one of the highest. No matter where you go in any of the counties, water resources always ranks as one of the top 3. It's always in the referenda for folks. So to answer your question, there is some work to be done to protect your drinking water resources here. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I went through it really quickly, but you'll get a final presentation from me with all of the results probably in March, and happy to answer questions on this part of it so far.
I'm wondering if we can take that, what you have, and superimpose it over like an actual county map with the roads and where things are? Is that possible?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. I think I was given this afternoon or this morning some maps and some shape files where there are proposed and planned developments. And I'm happy to then put those in on this GIS map and then bring that back to you or send it back to staff if they want. I can also send staff, if you've got GIS staff, and I know you do, this map and these layers, and they can provide that to you at any meeting before I come back.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And Madam Chair?
Yes,
If
ma'am.
I may be so bold, sitting down with Ramesh to do the whole thing would be really powerful for you, I think.
I would love to, and like I said, I was all geared up
Yeah.
to do that, and I was really trying to get an in-person meeting, and that couldn't happen. So then we had an online, and then that couldn't happen. So here we are, but I'd still like to do it.
Well, I'm here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I can be here Friday morning next week if that works for you. So I'll
Tuesday,
coordinate with their
Wednesday,
staff.
Thursday this week?
This next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
And if I may also tell everyone, if you want to attend, it is February 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It is 6:30 p.m. in 3 different locations. So the first one on the 3rd is Citrus Springs Community Center. And then on the 4th is the Citrus County Chamber of Commerce in Crystal River. And the 5th will be at the Lecanto Government Building in Lecanto.
Thank you.
And that is, I assume, room 166.
So Reese and I can coordinate schedules.
Yes,
next
I'll have
week.
some time, so thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Yes,
Any other
ma'am.
questions?
Commissioner
Yeah,
Barrick?
we were given a list of 41. I guess it's published, so people know. Where did you get the list of those people? Because when I look at this, I'm looking at developer, 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 and saying, why are, it's, to me, where did you get this list of people to attend this seminar thing that you did?
So, Madam Chair, the list, some names were provided to me as seed. So for example, one of the developers was provided to me. Having talked to them, I got other names that he provided. Similarly with like the Citrus County, the native plant community, the Audubon community, they invited me into somebody's home and they recruited some of their friends, and then we had a meeting for just that part of it, the sort of threatened and endangered species panel. The rec panel, I talked to an operator who operates dive centers and hotels here. I also talked to Mr. Cole of your staff. So it depends. It was one of those sort of, you remember the old ad, I told 2 friends and they told 2 friends and so on. So this became very organic. And so anybody that wanted to make an appointment and see me, having heard from their friends, if there was a group of them, we met. So for example, this Ag Alliance, I came down and had a meeting with them. They were gracious enough to move it from their normal morning to the evening so I could make it down here and meet with them. There was probably 20 or 30 folks in the room at that point, all filling out the forms. So
Okay.
that's how we came up with the names.
Okay, and you felt 41 was enough people to get information from to do the entire,
No, ma'am. So that was the subject matter experts. That's helping me orient to the county. What I'm hoping is we have, Highlands, we had almost 400 people attend the workshops and fill out the online survey that's going to happen next week. So I'm encouraging folks, and Commissioner Davis, you just heard her announce it. I'm hoping folks will show up at those meetings and avail themselves of the opportunity to vote on their top 3. But no, the meetings that I presented just now were experts who have a vested interest in some part of this, but have some higher level expertise.
Okay.
Ag operators, recreational operators, natural resource people.
okay, because when I look at the drinking water, the proposed building is above all that dark blue. And it has been for a while, since the 1980s. And you said that's the least expensive water that we can get, right?
If it's the cleaner it is, the closer it is to the level you want to deliver it, the easier it is to treat. You're not putting a lot of effort into it.
So by doing our development where the dark blue is, that is a positive for our county, as opposed to our conservation lands don't have the water under it. Some of them do, but not very many. And those should stay conservation lands because we want to keep the green spaces green. So when I look at that, I'm almost looking at what the other people brought us for development. And I appreciate you bringing that to us and showing us the different areas. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Board, anybody else?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am?
To follow up on Commissioner Barrick's question, part of this was also the wonderful people that put up the money, so we didn't have to use taxpayer funds. So all of those that put up the $43,000 got an automatic entry into it, and a lot of them are very much, or all of them are conservation oriented. Some of them are developers, some were ag, and so on and so forth. Some are in the environment, ecotourism business. And so clearly they should be invited to participate. But I went to the Ag Alliance meeting, and one of the best outcomes so far is I've had conversations with our farmers and ranchers about Ag Commissioner Wilton Simpson's Family and Rural and Family Lands Protection Program. And they weren't necessarily understanding the finances of it on how it would actually benefit their family to give up development rights. And Ramesh was able to push that over the goal line, and they all got it after, I did some seed work for you, but you finally got it over the line. And so hopefully we'll be seeing more of our ag go into permanently protected status.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Do you have anything else to add, Mr. Bush?
No, Madam Chair, I am happy to answer any questions. Other than that, I will go back to work and be back here in next week.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
And
Thank
I
you
will
all.
be getting with you next week.
Okay, I look forward to it. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you. Okay, we're back to open to the public. You'll have a green card. They should be numbered. Hi there.
Hi, hello. Good afternoon, Chair Finnegan, Vice Chair Barrick, and County Commissioners. My name is Salvatore Gentoli, and I'm here on behalf of SMA Healthcare to provide you with an update on our services here in Citrus County. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, SMA Healthcare is your local 501c3 nonprofit behavioral health and primary care provider. And I am proud to report that over the last fiscal year, we have provided over 3,000 individual therapeutic services to the citizens here in Citrus County. We've been around for over 60 years, and we also have programs in Marion, Volusia, Flagler, Putnam, and St. John's. At our Citrus Outpatient Center, that's located right behind this building at 107 Dr. Martin Luther King Avenue, we provide mental health and substance use assessment, as well as individual, group, and family counseling. We also work very closely with the Circuit 5 court system here in Citrus to provide treatment to all court alternative patients in the mental health court, the drug dependency court, the felony drug court, and the veterans court. We are proud to collaborate with Circuit 5 courts to connect people with the health care they need, so together we can reduce recidivism and encourage recovery. This past summer, we started a new graduate medical education program to train new psychiatrists. This program will train 10 new psychiatrists per year over a 4-year academic cycle, helping to secure much needed capability and capacity for future behavioral health services here in Citrus County. Please know that we also operate a central receiving facility right next door in Ocala. Our acute care services program there in Ocala is available around the clock to all the people here in Citrus County per DCF's No Wrong Door policy. The program offers inpatient mental health stabilization for kids and adults, detoxification for adults, and it's only about a half an hour away. So at SMA Healthcare, we are committed to our vision of a community where people have access to the healthcare services they need to find hope, healing, and recovery. We intend to grow our services here in Citrus County over the coming years, and we look forward to working with you to that end. I'd be happy to provide an in-depth presentation about our company in the future, should it please the board. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for being here and for the information.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
All right, Curtis Bryant, LaCanto. First thing, I wanted to say that the last couple of weeks I've been talking about the budget book and not being online. I'm happy to say that it is online and it is fixed. So good job, staff, on getting that updated. Makes it a lot easier to look through things for people wanting that information. Second question I have for you, we have all these different workshops and things going on throughout the months. Has there been any discussion of having a email list, basically, that can go out to, people can sign up for, that can be automatically sent out weekly, monthly, however they want to do that, to notify people of different meetings that are happening, the comp plan meeting, the North Florida Land Trust meeting, things like that, because I've had a lot of conversations recently of people have no clue what's going on with those types of meetings. They're not on Facebook, they're not on social media, so they miss the announcements those ways. So I just thought that maybe we could do a mailing list of some sort that is automatic, that can go out and doesn't use a lot of staff time to put that together. Data center. So I want to talk about data center a little bit. I'm not going to talk about the specific application, but there is potential for a data center coming to Citrus County. And I saw some quotes in the Chronicle recently from you guys talking about how we want to protect Citrus County and all of that. The problem there is we have nothing in the land development code that protects that. So I implore you guys to get with staff and figure out a way that you guys want data centers to come here if that's a potential. Protect the water systems, protect the way of life for people that live around those things, energy usage and things like that. All of that should be done in a land development code aspect. And it's something that you guys have control over. And so when those applications come forward, they have to meet certain criteria that you guys put in place on the land development code to guide those things. The last thing I want to talk about, we just heard the presentation from North Florida Land Trust. We saw the slides. There's 7 different charts. All of you guys said number 1 issue was drinking water. That was the dark blue areas on the map. Recharge areas was another issue or concern there. I want to point out that Betts Farm sits right on those recharge areas and drinking water areas. You just heard him say that we have lack of conservation areas over the drinking water, and that's something that we should look at doing and expanding. We saw the map that showed 133,000 or so acres of Citrus County is protected for conservation, of which Citrus County controls 310 acres. We saw the state was wanting to sell Chassahowiska Park out there. There was talks of them selling part of the Withlacoochee State Forest. Point is that we can't control what the state does with the state-controlled lands. So we need to look at ways to expand the county control. And Betts Farm hits 4 of those maps of critical criteria maps that were shown on those studies. And it would hit a 5th one if we kept it for conservation and we kept it for recreation, which is what it was originally donated for. So something to think about as that comes forward of what that looks like for Citrus County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Mike Engels from Homosassa. I want to talk to you a little bit about tourism. It's not a cost, it's an investment. Visit Florida just released the 2024 numbers, and their estimate is tourism in Florida saved every household near $2,000. We have about 65,000 homes in Citrus County. So that tourism essentially saved Citrus County residents $130 million in the year 2024. That's pretty significant. The community depends on tourism. Some of these there were little sound bites from last week. Tourism indeed keeps the lights on in Citrus County and in Florida. And it all starts with a visit. I first visited Citrus County back in 1991. My daughter was in 2nd grade. We swam with the manatees. 23 years later, we moved here, we bought a business, we have a home here. So it all starts with a visit, and a broader perspective is tourism is a vital force for peace. Through tourism, people meet people, they experience other cultures, they experience the nature, and they learn to appreciate other things broader than their own homes and their own areas. So having said all that, I have 2 requests. First one, at a personal level, I would respectfully request you eliminate me from consideration for reappointment to the TDC for J3. And the second request is your continued support of the Visitor and Convention Bureau and Mr. Cole and his team. They've been doing a lot over the last couple of years under his leadership. Very confident they're going to continue, and your support of the Visitor and Convention Bureau is vital for everyone in Citrus County. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your service that you provided to our community. Hello, Mr. Hollins.
Good afternoon. Hope you all had a great holiday, Christmas and New Year's. Made all kind of resolutions that you might keep and some of them you might break. A little cold this morning when I got up, about 29. I'm here to support conservation program here in Citrus County. I attended the first workshop with the Ag Alliance. I'm a member of the Ag Alliance and the Citrus County Cattlemen's Association. And we've been landowners here since 1940. And if there's a way that you can sell your development rights to the state and keep your farmland and keep your place you used to live and your granddad used to live and et cetera, and grow timber and have some cattle and hunting rights, but you've sold your development rights, but you're still keeping your land. And if your development rights are worth, let's say, your land's worth $10,000 an acre or $50,000 an acre, whatever it is, and you come up with a program with appraisals that the raw land without any rights on it is worth $1,000. So you're selling $9,000 of development rights to the state of Florida. That's if everybody agrees on it. So you keep your land, you don't have a housing project on it, but you keep your land. Most of the people in this room in Citrus County get too much pressure from the value of their land and sell out to the housing development. So it's a catch-22. You keep the value of your land, you sell it so somebody can't develop it, but you're able to stay there where you've been for 3 or 4 generations. I appreciate the support of this commission and the staff. Very important tool in the future of Citrus County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Chair, may he speak his name and fill out his speaker card, please?
Oh, Dixie, can you say your name and fill out a speaker
I'm sorry,
card?
Dixie Hollins, Hollinswood Ranch, Crystal River, Florida, P.O. Box 277.
Madam
I'll
Chair.
fill out the form.
Commissioner Davis.
And I want to personally thank Mr. Hollins for being one of the financial contributors of the Green Print. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, everybody. I'm Joe, Beverly Hills. I spent my career architecting and selling data center infrastructure and data centers to counties and states and cities and governments, and I even sold them to countries. And I'm here to tell you a few things. The first thing I want to tell you about is that compute, which is the core nodule of a data center, compute and storage, these are a commodity. And so if you can imagine electricity floating around, if we don't have it here, boom, you get it from Tallahassee. If Tallahassee doesn't have it, boom, and you get it from Alabama. It's a commodity. You can move it within 3 milliseconds. You really don't know that it's moved, okay? Compute is that same way. So you construct compute, and then it moves, just like that data. I personally moved a large retailer, 11,000 stores, all the customer front end, all the back end data center, how they know where you are in the store and everything. We moved them from Google over to Amazon. Took about 4 minutes. We moved them almost 1,000 miles, just like that. The point of it is that if you choose not to be involved in this business, then the commodity all around the county will be involved, and you just will suffer the consequences. Whether they're good or whether they're bad, this commodity will happen. AI will happen. Compute will happen. The question is, are you going to be involved in it? If you're involved in it, then you get to constructively form how it's done. Well, last night I sent all of you an email with 6 areas of concern. And concern's not really the right word because I offered in it how to adjust for each one, for water use, for noise, for lighting. You didn't think about lighting, right? What if Homeland Security is the tenant in the data center? Think about all the security that has to come. It'll light up the sky. It'll be bigger than North Tampa, I'm telling you. So anyway, don't get caught up in who the tenant is. You care about what's going on in there. All right, now how you legislate that is you have to get in front of it. A compute is tied to power. Power is tied to cooling. Cooling is tied to water. You can attach to the kilowatt hours used, which directly attaches to the compute, which indirectly attaches to the water. And you can monitor that by just seeing the power bill, and you know exactly how much compute is in there. You know exactly how much coolant they need. Please don't get bogged down in closed loop, open loop. All these are technologies. They're going to come, they're going to go. And if you don't legislate it the right way by addressing the impacts, you'll just be caught. I gave you specific examples in there about how Microsoft and them are driving to zero water usage. You can look at them.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Lead, please. Don't follow. It'll eat you up.
Thank you, sir.
Any
Next.
question?
Oh, I'll give the board some comments at the end after we hear everybody. Thank you.
I'll get to answer them.
They know how to find you. Hello.
Hi, my name is Eric Scher. I live in Inverness off of Stagecoach. Here also because of the data center news that's been in the papers. In the 19th century, the driving economic force in this country was basically railroads and coal, some oil towards the end of the century. 20th century, heavy industry, also oil, transportation. 21st century, we're looking at three legs. We're looking at compute power, data centers. We're looking at energy, and we're looking at telecommunications. I've got a long background in these that I'm not going to bore anybody with today. You're welcome. But what I wanted to say, echoing the gentleman who just preceded me, these are not the three horsemen of the apocalypse. Well, the four horsemen, but you know what I mean. These things can be managed. The biggest things that freak people out about data centers are the water usage and the power. And they're right to be concerned about the power. In 2020, the United States was using 4,000 terawatt hours of electricity a year. It's up to 4.25 now. By the end of this decade, it's probably going to be 5. By 2040, I would expect to see it around 8,000 terawatt hours. And even without the new developments in AI, we still would have had a problem with power generation for a variety of reasons that don't matter. How we got here, it's in the past, it's what we do going forward. The electrical grid in the United States, in most places, is effectively maxed out. You can't really add anything more to it. I lived in Ohio for a lot of years, and now if you want to build a data center there, you've got to self-power. And this is really just a bridge to getting to nuclear power. I expect we'll probably see the first small modular reactors going in the ground as early as 2027, but it'll take the better part of 2 decades to really ramp up on that. And I'll circle back to that. Water usage, you don't need to use water to cool a data center. What a data center is a great big open warehouse like Lowe's or Home Depot with a big power cord and a great big honking air conditioner. And the building is meant to support what's inside. We can't really stop this sort of progress, but we can manage how it happens, and getting in front of it is the smartest thing to do, because then we can do it in a way that doesn't throw away the tax revenue, the benefits, et cetera, but it does preserve the things we find are valuable. That's really all I had.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insight. Hi, Josh. It's been a while since you've been here. Remember to state your name and where you're from.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Joshua Parker Hicks. I live and work here in Citrus County. I'm here today to mark a transition, not a request, not a complaint, and not a campaign. Transition. For many years, this community has known me primarily through hands-on work. Building, fixing, showing up, solving practical problems, that work mattered. And I still respect it. What has changed is not my commitment to this community, but the nature of my contribution. Over the last several years, through lived experience, community engagement, and responsibility carried without title or applause, the work mattered, and I still respect it. I've developed a body of work centered on internal accountability, pattern recognition, and self-governance. This is not ideology, politics, or belief. It's practical human capacity. What I've learned is simple. Communities do not fail through lack of resources. They fail through misalignment of responsibility. When responsibility is outsourced, avoided, or compensated for instead of carried, systems strain. When responsibility is carried accurately, quietly, and consistently, systems stabilize. This applies to individuals, organizations, and governments alike. I'm not here to instruct this board, criticize decisions, or claim authority over anyone. I respect the jurisdiction of this body. My purpose today is to formally place my position on record. I am stepping forward into a stewardship role in this community, a role grounded in accountability without dominance, clarity without urgency, and contribution without performance. My work focuses on helping individuals and groups regulate their own conduct, investment, and responsibility so that public systems are not forced to compensate for private misalignment. This work has been tested through years of lived consequence and restraint. I've learned where not to intervene, where silence is more responsible than explanation, and where contribution is strongest when it stands without my name tied to it. I want to be clear about what I'm asking for, and I'm not asking for funding, endorsement, or permission. I am simply naming my position and reintegrating into this community with a long-term mindset, a governed pace, and a commitment to reduce friction rather than create noise. My work proves you, madam.
Thank you.
May I continue?
Can you finish in one sentence?
May I finish?
Can you finish in a sentence? Just kind of wrap it up.
If my work proves useful, it will do so quietly. If it does not, it will fade without distortion or disruption. Either outcome is acceptable. What matters to me is carrying responsibility accurately. That is all.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Susan Nelson, Sala Gardens. Conservation is something you never regret. Let's see. What a legacy. I was raised by a man born in 1886. Back then they owned land. And in 1969, he gave 200 wood acres to the Greenbelt. And my heart still swells, something you never regret.
Thank you. Ms. Bedford?
Renee Bedford, Floral City. I just want to say one thing when he was talking about nuclear power and the data centers and the cooling. Why not have it where we already have a cooling system set up where the nuke plant was a failure? Why not have it there? Why have to build a whole new facility when we already have a very similar facility existing in this county? Just an idea. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Hi, Robin.
Commissioners.
Nice to
Chair
see you.
Finnegan, nice to see you as well. Happy New Year. It's been a while.
I wasn't going to say anything, but it's hard to resist. Just a few comments. I wanted to support what Curtis Bryant had said about the Betts property being in a recharge area, and as well the Southworth property, which is still up in the air. And I realize at this time it's not under your control, but those two properties together constitute a very large recharge area that does have direct bearing on Kings Bay. The groundwater flow flows into that spring area, and it would benefit the county going forward if those lands were conserved instead of developed. I do want to alert you, and my apologies, I couldn't bring up my note on this. Florida Wildlife Corridor has identified a bottleneck in this region, and there's some state meetings coming up to talk about bottlenecks and how to address those needs in counties that are affected by them. There might be an alignment between that and some of the comprehensive planning and the conservation planning that you've engaged now. So I wanted to get that onto your radar. And then for the conservation planning, I did want to say also that while I respect the long tradition of agriculture and ranching that is Florida's history, and the fact that people are willing, who own large tracts of property, are willing to put that in to conservation, that one thing that I personally, as well as Sierra, would like to see is those lands with better pesticide use management, better fertilizer use management, and then restoration to natural habitat quality on portions of those ag lands that aren't being used, because there's a partnership opportunity there if that restoration is put in place. Working ag land is not an equivalent quality from an environmental perspective as natural, wild, undeveloped habitat. That piece needs to be recognized in order to have a truly effective partnership going forward in the years to come. It's just hard science. It's a fact. Water science, land science, ecology science. So if we can get everyone onto the same page, that would be hugely helpful, because, I mean, we all want a future for our children. We all want clean water. We're just coming at it from different economic, investment, and heritage points of view. But I think there is common ground in that. And let's see. The last thing I wanted to say is a data center is a Trojan horse. Please be careful and prudent in considering that. I've got more to say on that, but I know you've got a long meeting ahead, and I won't drill down there. I think that's everything I had, and with 5 seconds left, I'll say thank you.
Very
and
timely.
We'll see you
Thank
again.
you.
Mhm.
She did. No, she said Robin Orlandi. Clerk, you have her name right. Anyone else? Last chance. Okay, we're going to close open to the public. Board, do you have anything you'd like to say before we move on?
I can start with Robin. I don't know if I have if something, you guys may spark another thought that I need to come back to, but Robin, thank you as always for being here. I would like to have a further conversation with you on cooperation with ag. The best argument I've ever heard, and I believe this came straight from Leon McClellan, is that fertilizer is awfully darn expensive, and they are super careful on how much they use with it, purely from a fiscal perspective, and that makes complete common sense to me. But let's have another conversation so you can let me know what I don't know. And appreciate the data center comments. As I've remarked to a few people recently, this job is frequently two bad choices that you have to choose from. So we'll just see how that plays out. And I very much appreciate the Mr. Hicks, and I did not retain your name. But Eric, thank you very much. And so this is going to be interesting how this plays out.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just Robin's point, I will be attending a meeting with the Wildlife Corridor on Minding the Gap. That's coming up in March. And I thought the comments, I love the comments from Mr. Hicks and Eric. Great intel and good opportunity to collaborate with staff and people in the community that have something to give back.
Commissioner Kennard?
Well, I would reiterate the comments that my colleagues have made about the comments that were given during public input. And Bob was in that meeting as well, as you know, with Commissioner Simpson, and his comment that water resources should be, need to be regionally managed. Certainly captured some attention in the room for sure. I've been a critic of our regional management organization since 2016, actually now. Unfortunately, we're outvoted on that board. But I do think that there's room that if we keep pushing, that we can make some changes that the board would become better representative of Citrus County and the only water production facility that board owns in our 4-county region. They need to either own them all, as Tampa Bay Water does, or they need to own none of them at this point. That has been my position. That has not changed. At one point, it was probably 2017 or 18. I remember the previous director of the Water Authority telling the board that roughly 70% of Tampa Bay's water was coming underneath of the feet of Hernando County residents. That's concerning.
Is that all? That's it. Commissioner Barrick, do you have anything?
Yeah, when I listen to all these things and they talk about the water resources and water uses, it makes me know why I continue to say no. We cannot continue to add houses and people in our county if we want to watch our water and make sure that we can serve it. And I think that's what the people would prefer, because we want to keep our water. We know we only have so much of it, and we want to grow, but this is, you've got to say no somewhere. And I appreciate the fact that the man from Tallahassee was talking about the water resources and the fact that we need to watch the uses and the conservation of it.
And thank you also to Mr. Joe Hicks, and is it Eldridge? No, Eric. Yes. Thank you to both of you for the insight on the data centers. Denise, when, I was going to ask that, is it March where the land, where they want to add the land and then add the data centers? Is that?
The county has in-house an application for data centers, so I was listening intently that y'all didn't make any prejudgments on that, because it is going before the PDC in March, and then it will be before the BOCC after that.
Okay. So sometime after March.
Yes.
I was going to bring this up over my name, but, we often have presentations, and I think everyone's kind of got the gist of that for our presentations. I feel like moving forward, it should be board derived. It should be either the county our staff has to present us something, or we should ask each other, hey, do you want this presentation, or do you want this workshop? So as we're moving ahead, some people have talked about a workshop. Do we want to gather information on our own first, or do you all want some sort of a workshop, or you're going to tell me no? Her eyes are really big.
If you're speaking about anything that would be included in a pending application, I would urge you to not consider any type of input related to that until after y'all consider that application.
So, and I guess that's a gray area, because I wasn't thinking of any pending application per se, just our LDC for future moving ahead for any application, but.
There is a pending application at the county, and I wouldn't want you all to be speaking about what you may or may not think about that upcoming application before you see that application.
Because then it could get sticky even if we're speaking in generalities. Okay.
It's both quasi-judicial and legislative, because there's actually two applications, a comp plan amendment and an LDC amendment.
Okay. Well, board, let's all do our homework. Okay, I am not allowed to take from the audience. I'm sorry, but we will have another opportunity once we get through board business, and then we'll return to open to the public. With that being said, we are moving on board to E1, our bids.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Real quick, I wanted to make sure, as I was flipping my agenda over here, I noted that I wanted to thank Mr. Hicks for his email. I did go through and read it. Very informative. Every part of it was very good. Thank you.
Well said. Okay, E1.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve E1A and B.
I have a motion by Commissioner Barrick.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment? Any board comment? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. E2.
Motion to approve, E2.
Motion by Commissioner
Second.
Kennard. Second by Commissioner Davis. Any public comment? Any board comment?
Yeah,
All those,
I
oh,
do.
excuse
I
me.
do have board comment.
Commissioner
The fun-
Barrick.
The funds for that say 5,000, okay?
Okay.
There's another $1,965.76 that I want to know how we're approving these things, or staff is approving these things without us approving it first. In other words, it says it's going to come from reserves. When I read the backups, 5,000 is what was approved. That's all I want to approve. I will approve $5,000 because that's what's in our budget. And then to turn around, if we need to approve the other, that would be a separate thing, that we approve the other 1,900 to come from reserves, not to put it all into one for the 60, for the $6,000, $7,000.
Mr. Howard, when she's saying reserves, I believe that's out of water resources budget, which is not general revenue reserves. That's going to be out of that enterprise fund, correct?
Let me have Tammy come forward if you could, Tammy.
Not from the thing.
Just for some clarification,
Yeah,
Commissioner
clarification.
Barrick, I respect.
We're on
your
E2,
views.
correct?
Yes.
This is the anti-drug.
Right. I just want to.
Oh, you know what? I was
That's
looking
the
ahead
for-
to
that-
E3.
That's the forfeiture fund from the.
Oh, you're talking about the forfeiture fund?
Yeah, this is, the $1,966 is being taken from reserve budget fund balance, okay? We did not approve that yet, okay? But they're saying, but we're being told that the 5,000 is what was budgeted. We budgeted 5,000 in
For
the board
this
did.
particular thing?
Yeah, for this particular item.
Okay.
And I'd like to see, fine, we pay the 5,000, and then if we want to do this other from the reserve, I think it should be a separate item that we say, okay, we're going to take the 1966 from reserves to pay the balance of this, rather than people making decisions before we even see it.
Okay. I mean, it's, I used to sit on that board. It's a very wonderful thing what they're doing.
I didn't say it's not a good project.
I'm going
What
to
I'm-
vote for
what
the
I'm
full
saying is-
amount, but Tammy, do you want to clarify?
There, okay. The drug, what is it, the drug seizure, they're asking for that much, and I need direction from you where to take it. We're looking to take it from reserves, the extra 1,900.
There's no more money in the forfeiture fund after the $5,000?
There's $5,000 in there, that's what we have in there.
Okay. All right, I'm fine with the $1,000 coming out. Okay.
That's all, I just need direction where to take it,
Perfect.
so.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, so for clarification, 5,000's coming from the Drug Coalition, and then we're gonna come out of general revenue for the balance?
The 5,000's coming out of the forfeiture fund.
Exactly, and the
Yes.
balance, the almost $2,000 would come out of just the
Reserves.
county's
Reserves,
reserves?
yes.
So gen-
Okay, any further board comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-2. E3.
Motion to approve item E3, Florida Commerce and Environmental Review.
Motion by Commissioner Barrick.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment? Any board comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. E4.
Motion to approve E4.
Motion by Commissioner Bays.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barrick. Any public comment? Any further board comment? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. E5.
Motion to approve E5,
A and B.
A and B.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kennard, second by Commissioner Davis. Any public comment? I have a board comment. So I asked about the funding, even though we're not approving funding for this, it's just direction and getting the paperwork ready. I just want the board to know that that is impact fees. There's about $17 million in the impact fees, and this will take 13 some odd million. I just want us to be transparent with, on the board and the public before we take the vote. Any other board comment?
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Okay. I wasn't at the last board meeting and I watched it. Okay. When I saw what was going on, I thought, some people need to come over to my district and sit from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock on 491. Now, in that area, from, say, Forest Ridge down to West Hampshire, and that's not going to be a good idea, okay? We need to 4-lane it, that's for sure. We need to get this thing started. We can't stop it, but it needs to go to Deltona Boulevard. The housing development that was approved by this board for Tuscany Ranch will have their ingress and egress right there at Hampshire. That's 5,000 houses. That's, and I'm sorry, 10,000 cars. I counted the cars in my little area by my house. There were 12 cars in 4 houses. So we're talking 5,000 residents, so I'm talking 10,000 cars. To have it go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes right there is not good. It needs to go further to Deltona. We know it needs to go further, all the way to 200. Okay? Piecemealing it to Hampshire is not gonna be, we need to get the money, get this thing started, and get it moving in the right direction. And I saw that Commissioner Bays agreed the other week that she also felt that Deltona was a better move because we also have the housing development for Citrus Springs. And Deltona Boulevard is a main boulevard where houses come out. Where is all the construction of the houses coming? Tuscany Ranch, when it gets there, and Citrus Springs, which is already building. So if we're gonna be doing this study, I would like to see us spend the money and get it done all the way to Deltona Boulevard. And that's, that was what I wanted to, it's an investment in the county.
Clarification, you're saying spend the money, you're saying on getting it all surveyed, not necessarily paving it, or you're just saying
No,
pave it all?
What the board agreed to last time was we would be doing the surveying and checking this out and checking that, the things that were approved last time. I agree with all of that, but I don't agree with stopping at West Hampshire. I want it to go to Deltona.
And you said get the money? Do you have an idea where we're getting the money?
We have the impact fees coming in. And if we have to find money somewhere else to get this done, we're gonna have to find somewhere else to get some more money. But we can't ask for it because then they're gonna tell us what to do. Because I watched the meeting and that's what I was understood, that we have to pay for this if we want to be in control of the operations when other organizations give us donations or, appropriations.
Mr. Howard, do we have that number if we're doing what Commissioner Barrick
I'm
is
gonna ask
saying?
Carl to come forward, or Walt, if they could
So
come
we're
forward.
looking at approximately $13 million.
And Madam Chair, may I add another question onto that?
Please.
I think we're all disturbed by all this. I'm specifically was disturbed that we lose $2 million every time we taper and pause. So my question would be twofold. The one you asked about funding for this specific aspect, but secondly, does that second part age out? Can they do both the taper and the no taper option? You know what I mean? So, because we need to find the funding to go all the way to Deltona and just don't know what's gonna happen.
I'm the Carlton Hall Public Works Director. So in answer to the question, we were at 12+ million for this section that we were discussing from Pine Ridge Boulevard out to Hampshire. If we go all the way to Deltona Corporation, the engineering estimate that we've come up with is just over $24 million. So we've got roughly 17 million in our impact fees. You know, we're going to be short to be able to come up with enough money unless we were to get some sort of appropriations or some other forms of funding for that. Now, the difference, you know, for construction is going to be almost 24 million for the small section to Hampshire. If we were to go all the way, then we need about 45 million. And that's our guesstimates on what it'll come in at.
So about 24 million, we're talking to pave it, to actually widen it to Hampshire, and then 44 million, did you say?
Almost 45
45 million to pave it to Deltona, and that's if we spend the 24 million in the
Upfront for the design, engineering, acquisition of the right-of-way, and all the fees and charges associated.
I got a question. You said that the 17 million is what we're gonna do if we do to Hampshire, right?
We're about 12.66
Okay,
million for engineering, design, acquisition of the right-of-way to get the project shovel-ready to Hampshire, and then another 23.28 million to construct it.
Right,
With
okay.
utilities being relocated and all the stormwater
So now
engineering.
the difference between doing the design to Hampshire and the design to Deltona was,
12.66
12.6.
versus 24.35,
okay, so we're looking at another 12 million. Okay.
roughly.
And when people ask me about where we're gonna get the money, I've been looking at the budgets. And every year, and I know, I've been listening to these consultants we have come, every year we have a significant amount of cash carry forward that goes here and goes there. If we've got that much cash carry forward, we should have some place where we could take 5 million from this or 2 million from this and get our millions that we need to do this. Granted, we won't have 33 million cash carried forward. We would have 33 minus the 12 million that we had to find. Okay, so you asked for where are we gonna get the money? Okay, yeah, and the cash carry forward, when people came in to tell us about doing the roads, they said, well, you gotta use the cash carry forward, you gotta use it. Why not use the cash carry forward now at a lower price? Because if we wait to do this next section, you know it's not gonna be $12 million to do the design for that next section. Okay, when they did the 491 and they broke it apart, it raised the price how many millions? And it took how many years to actually get the whole thing of 491, the new section we just finished, done? So we're pushing things off because we're afraid to say, okay, use the cash carry forward money for a project that we need to do, and I said need to do now for our citizens, because once we start letting Tuscany build, it's gonna be emptying right out there onto Hampshire. That's why I say, some of you need to come sit in on 491 by Hampshire and watch the backup. Or go to 41 and 491 and see that backup. I mean, the people that are living there are paying taxes. They expect us to do something to cover their needs. And you, and Carlton and them know, we do need to do this project. And it is gonna cost more if we don't put it out now. Once we get the design, it doesn't say we have to do the whole design the whole time, right? We do the whole design, and if we only wanna pave half of it, because that's all we get the money for, we pave half. And then we pave the other half, just like we did. But if we get the whole design, we can use that design for how many years? Forever?
I would say if you're gonna do design, you definitely would wanna do acquisition at that time, so you have the right-of-way secured. Not necessarily saying that you need to build the second piece, but at least you would acquire the right-of-way, stormwater, and then the construction can come later in phases.
And if we do it now, it's at a lower price than if we wait 10 years.
Of course, everything goes up with inflation.
Because you know that it's not gonna be 5 years down the road.
Yeah, the only
It's
thing
gonna
that could,
take us 5 years just to get the acquisition, the design, and get the money to do this one little section.
we're thinking this one little section will take about a year and a half to get all of the design, engineering, and the right-of-way acquired. You know, the only thing that would change that is if a developer came in, let's say, and there was some negotiations with the county on additional right-of-way, then it would be something we might not have to purchase, or it may be something that would be, you know, less.
Your prices include the right-of-way acquisition and taking into consideration the extra lane that Tuscany has to pave and the right-of-way acquisition for that too?
It includes everything that was agreed upon in the Tuscany negotiation.
Okay. Commissioner Davis?
That was what I was going to ask. So they gave us right-of-way, so that was already factored in with the right-of-way, so that deducted from what, okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kennard?
Yeah, we had a presentation, I guess it's months ago now at this point, but in that financial forecast presentation, they showed us that the cash carry forward is a diminishing number each year. That cash carry forward has been used to essentially buy down the millage rate, to hold the millage rate low. If we commit future amounts of that, or the total amount of the cash carry forward to something like this, that is going to necessitate a either deeper cuts in the budget than what we're facing if this, if this initiative of property tax, ad valorem tax decrease from Tallahassee is successful. Right now we're looking at potentially a $25 million cut in the budget. Now, if you take away that that cash carry money, you're facing even greater shortfall in your budget and trying to make it all work. So I don't think, while I agree the road needs to go to Deltona, I just don't know how we pay for it other than pulling it out of reserves, pulling that money for engineering, legal, acquisition, design, pulling that out of reserves and moving forward with designing it from Pine Ridge to Deltona, or bonding it. And, bonding the money to move forward with this part of it, and then ultimately looking to the legislature. It's too late at this point in the process to seek an appropriation out of the legislature. I was hoping we could get there, but looks like the baking of the budget has already started. Anyway, I do think we need to move forward with the planning. Would it be great to go to Deltona? Yes, but I have no earthly idea how we get there financially.
I got another suggestion.
Hold on. Commissioner Davis, did you have anything?
Not right now.
Oh, your light was on, okay. Commissioner Barrick?
Well, another suggestion, if you don't want to do cash carry forward, we have an investment that the clerk keeps telling us we've got millions and millions and millions. If we're not investing in the county, what are we investing in? So if we maybe have to take a little out of the investment, not take all the cash carry forward, use some cash carry forward, and some of our investment, not touching our reserves, okay, but using money that's actually sitting there that should be being used for things that are needed. And you notice I say needed in our county. And this is a need. It's not a pie in the sky thing. Well, we could have this, but it is something we need for our citizens. And I think they would appreciate if we took a little bit of our investment money, maybe half of the thing comes from investment, and we got so much from impact, so much from investment, and so much from cash carry forward. When you ask, how are you going to pay for it? It's just like at your house. How are you going to pay for it? Well, 486 is bonded, and that one will be coming up soon to be ending. So maybe we add a little bond in there. Get the money from 4 different sources. But we get the money and get it done, instead of just sitting and saying, well, we'll do this part, and then 3 or 4 boards down the road, well, we're going to do this part. We know what needs to be done. And at this point, I think it's time that we actually do what needs to be done.
Commissioner Barrick, I don't know that we have a big pot of just investment money. She's investing our current budget money so that we get a good return on our investment. I don't want people to think that we just have this big pot of, there's just millions of dollars sitting around somewhere and the clerk's investing it. That's not happening. I was going to bring up some of these topics at the strategic planning meeting, but since we're talking about 491, I agree with you about our cash carry forward. I don't know that that's appropriate for roads, but at the same time, we haven't. We just had $6 million, and I talked about bringing the millage down with that, and we didn't do it. Like, the board did not, matter of fact, no one else, not one other person agreed with me on doing that, and that's fine. But I do look at what we've had over the last couple of years for smaller projects, which aren't small, they're kind of big, like an animal shelter, but that money, we could have paid for it. Really, with all the last handful of years while we've been talking about it, this cash carry money. As a human, do not like debt, and I don't like to borrow, but if we're going to bond anything, it should be a major project like this, in my humble opinion, for roads and widening and infrastructure. I just got the start and stops and looking at the bonds that we do have, and honestly, in the past, some of those things I just don't even understand it, like small amounts that we bond. So maybe that's something that we talk about and have a better plan, that we're not breaking the budget with it. But as these turn over, we start using the money that we're constantly paying for these into further investment. I'm with you. This year, if we wanted to do this, it would have to come from reserves. Like, it's completely not budgeted, and I know now's the time. So, and I don't know who's talking about that or wanting it. I mean, we can call the vote as it is on the table. How quickly are you going? If someone brought up another way to do this, we haven't agreed to pay for this yet, so we're just moving forward with the paperwork and contacting people with the contract.
Right,
So there's still some time.
Madam Chair,
Excuse
I
me.
think there's a lot going on in the legislature. I think it would not be prudent for us to get into this conversation until we have a full understanding what bills are going to be on the table with how it relates to property taxes. As you all know, I asked Tammy to copy and send out the information, what that would look like on various exemptions, whether it was full exemption for all homestead or breaking it down to 500, and you have it in front of you, along with our required statutory expenditures. This point, I just don't, I mean, that was part of my conversation at the last meeting, and I completely understand the amount of money, but we also have to be stewards of the money, and we have to be prudent on how we're going to move forward with this. And I think right now, until we have a better understanding through this legislative session where we're at, we can get started and get it to Hampshire. But I think talking about doing anything else until we know what's going to happen at the legislature is just, that's just being misguided. So my recommendation, let's take our impact fees, what we have, let's get it started, figure out where we're at with the legislature and what may be on a ballot, and what's actually going to end up on a ballot, and then move forward from there. But I think we're talking very prematurely because out of what we collect, we have required statutory requirements of almost $97 million. And so what we collect in ad valorem, that's almost 2/3 of what we collect. So I think right now we just need to sit back and wait for the cards to unfold in Tallahassee.
Thank you. Any other board comment?
I agree with Commissioner Bays, and we could, is it 7 million that we're short on impact fees? Did I do that math right?
For going to the Deltona?
Yeah, just the preliminary work, not the actual paving.
12.
Or 12?
11 something, yeah.
I thought you said 24 million to do all of it on the planning and
Right.
acquisition phase?
Well, correct.
And we have 17 in.
We were discussing 13 million originally using impact fees at 13 million, but if we use all 17, then you're correct.
Right, and we have other things to do, I assume, with the impact fees?
Always.
Yeah, always, okay. Just wanted to be clear on that. We can always add on to this contract, whatever we go, and keep it rolling if, once everything shakes out, if we can figure out how to get the rest of the money, okay. Because, I mean, if I could wave a magic wand, we would do all of it to 200 right now. And that would be a lot less expensive than what it's going to be long-term. So, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
just while we have Carl and Walt here, if we're talking about taking money out of reserves, we've already committed obligations even through the SCOP program. So our funding for a POPCA is coming in from the state, and that's the max we get is roughly $1.8 million. I'm not sure how much we're going to go over budget. And 27 is Gospel Island. The last estimate we had on that was over $4 million. There's other programs that we've committed to in these 5-year plans for transportation, and so those are going to require some other funding sources as well. So I just think the conversation we're having here is not a very fluid conversation about the finances, and there's a lot on the table that needs to be taken in consideration before we start talking about taking things out of reserves.
I don't know that anyone was proposing it, just saying that would be the only option. Okay, we ready? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Are you opposed, ma'am? Nay? Okay,
Wait,
motion
Walt.
carries 4-1.
Walt and Carl, can you wait for one moment? Can I ask, I just want to ask a question. When we were up in Tallahassee, we got some clarification on appropriations. Could you share that, Walt, with the board? I think it was very advantageous. I asked Walt to attend these meetings, but I think we got clarification on what funding, if we were going to get an appropriation compared to what we talked a couple meetings ago.
Sure. I think the takeaway was that talking with the two secretaries, D7 secretary and state secretary, that the state appropriation, they would not be applying all of the major rigorous rules and regulations, but to be cautiously optimistic, it's going to be more like a SCOP program, but maybe a bit more aggressive. They're going to definitely do checks and balances. They would definitely want to see our documentation before we move. So it would be apply to DOT, get their approval, move forward, just like a SCOP program. They may ask for additional requirements that would be over and above what we normally do, but it would not be to the DOT level of requirements, which was very good to hear.
And also ensure we don't take federal money. It needs to come out of the general fund from the state, not from the trust.
Yes.
That's the other issue when you get into the quicksand and lots of red tape. But I think it was a great meeting. I think Commissioner Kennard did a great job facilitating that. But I think it was well worth having Walt there to kind of hear what we were hearing.
Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, looks like we're at outstanding commission items. Miss Veronica Kampschroer.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Veronica Kampschroer, Special Projects Manager. I just have a few updates for you. The first is the landfill's new citizen service area. The final land swap approval is currently on hold, though not delayed. We are just pending the division of the parcel that we will be swapping. So we're going to take care of that administrative process first, and then once that's settled, we will be able to receive DEP approval of the land swap. For the Crystal River Connector Trail, the kickoff meeting for the pre-construction was held on the 15th of January, and our next steps for the timeline are currently in development. The inshore reef placement pre-construction, we were donated a large amount of materials to use for that reef, so those were delivered to us on the 8th of January, and the next step will be to determine the procurement method for design of that reef. And finally, as I mentioned at the last meeting, core civic staffing for December is up to 96.85%, which is up from 95% in November. Any questions?
Commissioner Kennard.
Yes, thank you, Veronica. The connector trail, the last that I had heard on that was we were still considering the Kings Bay Drive to LaGrone Park there at that intersection through that piece of property that was there. But when I drove by that piece of property, the sign up there says it's sold. Do we know if that property is even still available? I mean, it was essentially swampland. Would have meant made a beautiful walkway over to LaGrone Park or boardwalk through there, but do we know if that's still available or not?
I would ask Mr. Eastman to come back up. He's coming this way.
Commissioner, actually was sold not that long ago, but I'm pleased to say that we met with the property owner, the new property owner, and he's considering a potential sale.
Ooh, that would be a fabulous location for it.
No guarantees just yet, but he's
Understood.
He's considering it.
Understood. Thank you. That would be choice number one for sure. And the material for the inshore reefs, that was, again, the last meeting that I had. There was talk that we would have access to it. We just had to cover getting it up here. Where's that material being stored? Is that up on the barge canal bank, or is that?
I do hate to defer to other staff, but I'd ask Carlton to just clarify that.
All right.
So we haven't received the material yet, but our thought was if it's something that has to come in immediately and we don't have a location, we have a satellite 4 office right on 491 that's right across from like the transit center, that we have plenty of room to store that material until such time as we know we're going to deploy it. Now in the future, based on locations, we might look at other spots that would be closer and more readily accessible without having to relocate it twice.
Perfect. And I hope that this board would encourage you and the rest of staff, others who are involved in this, to do what needs to be done to store that material someplace where we're not moving it a second time. Deploying, was it 1,800 tons or 1,900 tons of material right from the banks there, all the barge canal, sure seemed to go pretty fluidly. The weather didn't cooperate, but it seemed to work pretty smoothly. So hopefully that will happen. All right.
Anything else? Board? Any other questions?
I have a one, since Carl's walking away, but can you just give an update? There's a lot of chatter about Apopka, kind of where we're at in the process. I know I'm seeing some work on the shoulders of the road, but.
So ahead of the construction for resurfacing that road, we had our stormwater crews go out there and prep everything, get it all ready. So all of the contract documents to go out to bid have been turned over to FDOT, and we're just waiting on their sign off and approval back to us to go out to get construction costs.
Thank you. And then just one other, and I don't know if this would be Eric. I've had a lot of inquiries about where we're at with the new veterans facility. So can anybody provide an update?
Yeah, let Eric come forward, please.
Thank you, Carl.
While Mr. Landon's approaching, Apopka will be added to this list as soon as that approval from FDOT is received.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Eric with Growth Management. The VA is located within the 44 IMA, and all IMA projects have to come before the board as a PUD for final approval. So the applicant, knowing that, they applied for their building permit along with their PUD application. So they're running concurrently, and by the time it gets to you, which is the first meeting in March is how we have it tentatively scheduled, the building permit should be good to go. So it's scheduled for the first meeting in February for the PDC, and then the first February and first meeting in March for this board to hear it.
Thank you.
Okay. It's the first one in the IMA, so that's why it's kind of unusual for everybody. One extra step. Thanks.
And thank you for making that public. I have updated the Veterans Advisory Board because they have been asking, and then various pots of people, yeah, they think that we're holding up permits, and we're not holding permits. It's just part of the process. And I know, Eric, that your team is moving everything along as quickly as possible. Thank you. Anything else for Veronica? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Alexander Alt, our intergovernmental liaison, updating us about Tallahassee. It was a productive trip.
Yes, ma'am, it was. Alexander Alt, Intergovernmental Affairs Liaison and Administrative Development Review Expediter. So good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. It was a very productive meeting in Tallahassee. We heard a lot of good feedback. I have some pictures from all of, from our time up there. But the thing I do want to make sure I state is we heard from our agency heads that we met with, from our elected officials that saw us while we were up there, that Citrus County really does hit above their weight when it comes to our population. You have other counties and everyone does a great job, but I've specifically heard Citrus County, it was stated that, you know, yes, we're a smaller county, but we hit way above our weight when it comes to that population. So, and when we had all of our meetings, we made sure we left with each of them our priorities. We have our booklet that was put together at the end of last year, a little overview of our priorities, and made sure that was left with all of the agency heads that we met with and all of the elected officials. And we heard a lot of good feedback from all of that. So I just want to say that off the top. So let me go to this real quick. Okay, so just some pictures from our time up there. Each of our, commissioners had different meetings scheduled with various elected officials, both in the legislature and also our agency heads. On the right is a meeting that was held with Senator Hooper, chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee. On the right, it's kind of zoomed out a little bit, but that was Senator Masulo speaking to the chamber and a lot of other folks that were up from Citrus County on Thursday. We also had our annual legislative reception while we were up there as well. You can see Commissioner Bays on the left there, and then Representative Grow on the right, talking to everyone, and again, reiterating just how important the feedback is from all of you and from everyone in our community when we go up there. They do say, yes, you can have your lobbyists up there, and that does help a lot to move projects along and to make sure everyone knows about our priorities. But actually having the actual members, the elected officials and stakeholders within the community going up there can really push something over the edge. So just a couple dates now that we've gotten through our chamber legislative days up there. So next, what we're going to be looking at is waiting for the chairs of all of the appropriations committees to put out their initial salvo, their initial budget proposal for each of their budget silos. We're probably thinking that's going to come out kind of end of this week, we're in week 3 now, or the beginning of next week. So we'll be keeping an eye on that to see which projects ultimately made it into the process, and that we'll be keeping an eye as we get to budget conferencing. Which brings me to my next point. After those proposals come out, the next thing we're going to be looking for is budget conferencing, which generally happens, we're a little early to say exactly when, but generally happens the last 2 to 3 weeks of session. And whatever projects make it into that initial set of proposals, those are the ones that we'll be looking at. What are the final dollar figures that make it in, as both chambers kind of jockey back and forth to give you final numbers. So that's kind of the next 2 things we're looking at. That's just a layout of all of our appropriations and their various form numbers. I added Chassahowitzka to that after our last meeting. And then I also wanted to make sure I kind of gave a little snippet of some different bills that I want to make sure all of the commissioners are aware of going forward. Just some things as they move through the process. Nothing has fully passed yet in this list, but just want to put something on everyone's radar. So the first is HB 145, which is has to do with suits against the government. So basically for sovereign immunity caps, as you may know, currently the caps for the state and political subdivisions thereof is $200,000 per claim, and $300,000 for if there's multiple claims for one issue. And so those are $200,000 and $300,000 respectively. This bill would propose, starting October 1 of 2026, to increase that cap from $500,000 per person, or $1 million for entire claims. And then after September 30th, 2031, would then do a one-time increase to $600,000 per person, and then $1,200,000 for the entire claim if there's multiple claims. The bill also permits subdivisions of the state to settle a claim or a judgment if it's in excess of those caps. Currently, right now, the local governments cannot, but it allows them to settle those claims in excess without having to go to the legislature with a claims bill. And that bill has gone through all of its committee stops on the House side. It's been referred to the Senate Rules Committee, but no movement yet on that one. So just something to keep an eye on as we go forward that could potentially impact us going forward. So, and then 840, if you may remember from 2025, Senate Bill 180, having to do with local governments putting additional, more restrictive or burdensome regulations after a hurricane. This bill, and actually it's been filed by the same sponsor of SB 180. He basically said in committee, with Senator DeSegli, that was not the intention to basically bind local governments to basically be able to do nothing if a hurricane goes into, if it makes landfall in the state and a county is within 100 miles of that hurricane. The intention wasn't to make it basically impossible to do anything. So they're basically fixing a bunch of those. It basically opens it back up and says you can make changes to your comprehensive plan, to zoning, to development agreements. You can make those kind of changes. But then there's a few, I can go into specifics if you have questions about it, but there's a few restrictions on that. But in general, it changes it from 100 miles to 50, shrinks the area down, and then also only applies those restrictions that the bill actually lays out if the property in question has specific damage that would require a permit to fix. So it's not a blanket for every single property in the county. It's only for those ones that they can show has a need for a permit to fix. That's the only ones it would apply to. So that's Senate Bill 840. That one is moving through the process. It's gotten through. It's in its third committee stop in the Senate, and there isn't a similar House bill on it. There's another one floating out there on the House side, but that one kind of doubles down on the existing burdensome and restrictive language. So there's some disagreement between the chambers, but I just thought this one was of note because that was the same sponsor from 180. Okay, and then you have HB 103, which has to do with local business taxes. So you may know business tax receipts. Basically, what gives local governments authority to tax the ability for professions to operate within their counties. This bill, it's just interesting because it repeals the entirety of the legislative authority for counties to do that, to have those in the first place. And it only keeps it for two municipalities, Panama City and Panama City Beach. They tax merchants measured by the gross receipt of the sales of merchandise, not just the permission to do it in general. So this bill, if it were to pass, would completely repeal the ability for local governments to actually have those business tax receipts. So this is just something to keep an eye on as well. It's in its third committee stop. FAC is tracking this one, so if it gets further, we may hear more from FAC on that one. And then the last one I just wanted to touch on was HB 105 and SB 588 dealing with local government enforcement actions. This is by Senator McLean on the Senate side. But this bill basically has to do with local government enforcement actions and kind of redefines the structure of how that actually works and would require local governments, if somebody raises a concern about how an enforcement action was taken, they have 30 days to raise that with the local government, and then the local government would have to review the complaint and tell them whether or not it was, I think the wording they used was arbitrary or unreasonable, and if it was, if it followed with what the local government had already been doing, and it wasn't something that was just they pulled it out of the sky in that enforcement action. And then so they have 30 days to respond to that, and then the person that's complaining would then have the ability, if they don't agree with the local government, they would then have the ability to bring that to a court of competent jurisdiction and basically hash that out. So it's an additional burden that counties would have to shoulder if that were to pass. I can go into more specifics, but if you have questions about that one, just let me know. But again, that one's on the House side, it's in its second committee stop out of 3. It's currently on the agenda for the House Intergovernmental Affairs Subcommittee. And then the Senate bill hasn't moved at all. So we're going into week 3. So if we get to week 4 or 5 and things aren't really moving far along, then we're going to start seeing some stuff die in committee. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one as well going forward. And finally, I just wanted to highlight on the transportation concurrency bill. I talked about that last time. There hasn't been any new movement on that bill as of yet. I think there's been some additional conversations with Senator Masulo and the FDOT Secretary Perdue on if something can be done outside of legislative means. But I think there's additional conversations that need to happen on that, so I'll leave that be for now. But I just wanted to let you know where that one currently stands. And then these are just some dates we had from last time. I just crossed out the ones we've already done, but just keep that in mind as we go forward for some different conferences that FAC is doing. Any questions from me?
Thank you, Alex. Commissioner Bass?
Quick question on the concurrency. I mean, this has been a long conversation for many years, but I think the legislature is more favorable towards mobility fees versus concurrency. Is that kind of some of the feedback?
Yes, and some of the feedback we heard from Senator Masulo is basically it may not need legislative action in order to accomplish what we're trying to do. There may be action that can be taken with the way the statute's already written and just make some modifications to our comprehensive plan. And part of that conversation may have to do with the mobility fees side of it. I think we're waiting on some more information from FDOT on that, but absolutely, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to have had a good conversation with Secretary Hall this week, so we're going to have some good conversation next week, and we'll know more after that meeting. But I think there's some possibilities, some best practices that we may be able to implement here. They're going to look at other counties across the state. We'll have all those details, and we'll bring them back to the board so you're fully briefed.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Alex?
The only other thing I wanted to leave with you is at the last meeting, the board asked about when we have legislative priorities, either the county's priorities or if there's other ones, maybe we did a letter of support or something like that in favor of that project. They asked if there's a way to have people be able to reach out and to the elected officials, either Senator Masulo or Representative Grow, and say, we support this project. You know, this is a great project and this is why. And so taking that information, we went back and Reese, I don't know if you could put it up on the screen now, but we added on the county website under the legislative priorities section, an additional page where folks can go. There it is. And on the right there, it says legislative request survey. And it's an additional page where people can go, they can put their name, address, and information, and then checkbox all of the projects that they support and would like to send that to the elected officials. And what will happen is once they submit that, that'll come to me, and then I will compile it and send. So we're not having like 1,000 emails go to our representatives and maybe overwhelm them. I can compile it into a spreadsheet and share that with our elected officials that way. So that was kind of what we worked on.
Very nice. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate the update.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Howard.
Bring Eric back up, please.
Commissioners, Eric with Growth Management. Item H1 is a development agreement for Homosassa Trails. It's essentially accepting an application for a developer's agreement that would go along with a corresponding PUD application that's scheduled for the PDC to begin in February. So you're just agreeing to, with this request, you're agreeing to accept their application for a development agreement to be part of a land use application, just procedurally. And then Attorney Hartley is here to speak on the actual application itself if you had any specific questions about it.
Okay, thank you. Board, any questions for either Eric or Mr. Hartley? Commissioner Kennard?
Yeah, so are we, by going through this, we aren't agreeing necessarily to the terms of the developer agreement at this point. It's just allowing that developer agreement to be part of their application.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Barrick?
All right, so when I read this, what we're looking at is agreeing to a possible 390 more houses, if it gets approved.
You're agreeing for a development agreement to be part of their application. They're part of their request.
Right, which would be a 390 single-family house.
Yes.
Okay, well, when I go through the January 14, what's coming, we already have 3,680 possible homes on the what's coming. And this will be another 390 on top of that.
Commissioner.
At this point,
Commissioner.
I'm looking at your thing and I'm saying,
Commissioner.
Excuse me,
if
point of order.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Is there an application pending already?
Yes.
Okay, just bear in mind, there's an application pending, so you don't want to prejudge anything.
I'm not prejudging anything, but I'm just saying, you know, I'm looking at the numbers. But I appreciate you
Commissioner,
bringing it.
just
Look at the numbers. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're not even talking about whatever the application is. We're just giving them permission to bring that forward as part of the application. And then we can make decisions when our time comes.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Motion
ma'am.
to approve H1.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Davis.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barrick. Any public comment? Any further board comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Anything else, Mr. Howard?
Nothing further.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to nominate for J1 Kathy Anderson Moore, Anne Marie Breyercheck, Melissa Walker, and Barbara Wheeler.
Motion made by Commissioner Davis for J1.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bays. Any public comment? Any further board comment?
Yeah, I'm sorry to see that we don't have more people applying. We had 4 openings and 4 applicants. We need to get some more volunteers.
Well said. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. J2?
Madam Chair, I would like to nominate Rosemary Randstrom for the Historical Resource Advisory Board.
Motion by Commissioner Bays.
Second. Do you have an alternate as well, or are you doing a separate motion?
We need one regular and one alternate.
Robert Higginbotham.
I'll amend my second.
Motion by Commissioner Bays, second by Commissioner Davis. Any public comment? Any further board discussion? All
Yeah,
those
I want to point out something.
Okay.
People talk a lot about all this new growth and development. This is a great place to be involved. This is our history. And there's lots of ways that you can donate and provide time to keep alive what's been here for many, many years. I mean, there's the Duval House out, Matt's house in Floral City. There's the historic courthouse. There's many, many, many things that we can take pride in across our community that's been here for many years, and let's not lose it. So, including trees.
Well, let's encourage those that are not nominated for this board at this time to still be active in those
Absolutely.
meetings. Anyone can go.
Chair.
Yes,
Just a
ma'am.
quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Who is the alternate?
The alternate was Robert Hybaugh.
Okay, I got the name. I didn't hear them say that they wanted one as the
Yes.
alternate. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, any further board discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. J3.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
motion to approve Michael Mankey, Ray Smitherman, Nancy Desai, and Tracy Wood.
Second.
Hold on, I'm catching up because I have a split. Okay, motion by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment? Any further board discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. J4.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept for nominees Joan Diaz, Karen Parker, and Patrick Crippen.
Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Barrick, second by Commissioner Kennard. Any public comment? Any further board comment?
Yes. In other boards, we do not allow people to serve on more than one board. Patrick Crippen is already on the Aviation Advisory Board. Is this allowed or not?
The only way it would, we look at membership is if they are on a board that makes final decisions. For example, like the PDC, those members can only be on the PDC, and I think also like the TDC, because they make final decisions, but I think these are just recommending boards, so we don't, they can serve on more than one voluntary board where they don't make final decisions.
Excellent.
Thank you for the clarification to you both. Any public comment? Any further board discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to recommend or nominate or appoint Janice Smith and Connie Martin Carter, and it's with great disappointment there's only 2 people for the 2 openings. And that's where I said we need to try and get more volunteers for our advisory committees.
It's your
Second.
district. Go get them.
I
Second.
know, that's why. It's frustrating.
Motion by Commissioner Barrick, second by Commissioner Davis. Any public comment? Any further board comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Commissioner Bays. He said it long after Davis. Yeah. He just didn't hear her.
That's right.
Come on, Jeff.
I just want to bring a couple of things up. Colleen Strickland from WTC has been asking to get on the agenda for a presentation, and I'm not sure what's happened to that, but can we discuss why we can't get her on? Or
I think
what?
they did. She is on one. I was.
Yeah, I think
told.
it is coming up. I think Carl had some discussions about timing, but that's my understanding it's coming soon.
Okay. Well, I know she fell and broke her collarbone as well. Which brings me to going back to the legislative updates. Bob and myself and a few others from Too Far met with DEP about Lake Lonesome. We're still in negotiations with DEP about what's a wetland, what's not a wetland. And then just all the conversation that we've been having about budget and how we're gonna spend our money and what we're doing. And conservation, you know, if somebody told you you could get, if you had an investment account and you were guaranteed a 50% return on your money, that's a very good return. And we're leaving dollars on the table every year by not contributing more to our grant match. Because now that we have the vulnerability study completed, there's lots of money sitting at DEP for various things, for resiliency programs, you know, that's whether it's our seagrass, restoring islands that are disappearing at an alarming rate, that are our first line of defense on these storms, stormwater issues. There's multiple things that we could be tapping into the resources, but we have to have some of the match dollars. So I want us, just as a board, as we go into the workshop, bear that in mind. When we keep talking about taking money out of things or putting money away for something, think about putting money into a grant fund match, because that's a return on investment on average of 50% on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar.
Didn't we do that? Isn't that in our budget this
But
year?
it's a very small amount. You know, I mean,
$1 million.
I think
Wasn't it
we're
$1 million?
$500,000 is what we agreed on, but when we're talking about some of these projects that are astronomical, but the money is laying there and other counties are taking it, getting it, we need to start, I think, prioritizing some of the resiliency and the vulnerability assessment work that could be done in this county that we can tap into and get those resources. And that's about it.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis?
Yes, couple things, well, three things. I was very sorry to miss Tallahassee last week. That's the first time I've missed, ever. Just couldn't be avoided. I did have, while y'all were up there, I had a meeting with Canterbury Lakes and about the cement plant, and it went well. And so I have a list of questions that I need to get with DEP. I thought I was meeting with the wrong division of DEP last week, so I need to set up a different division meeting this week. So I have Alex helping me on that. And tomorrow night is our launch party for our Discover magazine tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. That's our normal Partners in Tourism. But tomorrow night is going to be a big event. And Avis, where are you, Avis? Avis has promised dancers, fireworks, I don't know. He's got something planned that's big, so hope to see any of y'all out there. Obviously, we will stay apart. And that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Kennard?
Yeah, without totally recapping every meeting, I will say that it was an incredibly productive and exhausting 3 days in Tallahassee. The meetings were, I would say, information intense. You know, it was just, even sitting down and meeting with Representative Grow and Senator Masulo, two great friends that I've known for many years. The meeting agenda was our legislative priorities and going through them, covering them one by one. And they had great questions on each of them, you know, down to, I shouldn't say down to, but, you know, SCOP. We talked at length about the importance of SCOP to our county in particular. We talked about the Homosassa Trail and how important that is in getting that across the line. Talked about 491 with both of them as well. Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson, that is always like sitting and talking with your neighbor. You know, just a great guy. He and others that we spoke with up there, essentially and I still don't quite understand it, but essentially said, you've got 2 years to really get a significant amount of money out of Tallahassee. Do the best you can. In fact, Commissioner Simpson said in reference to road projects, he said, I would beg, borrow, and steal to get your road projects done over the next 2 years. Those projects will be roughly 25% less than they were 2 years ago, and 25% less than they will be 2 years from now. So he made no bones about it with a conference room full of people. Said, if you've got road projects, get them done. And, you know, that involves, he didn't say bonding, but he said beg, borrow, and steal to get them done. So the DOT meeting was absolutely, I felt it was phenomenal. We had both Secretary of DOT for the state, Jared Perdue, in there, and then as a bonus, we had our district secretary, Justin Hall, join the meeting as well. And we went down a list of topics. The one that we hit on that was a little surprising to me, but I was very thankful for, was I'd brought up that several years ago there was some discussion about moving funds from the state's SIS network over to helping some of our local roads. And we talked about 491 being an evacuation route, and that while we understand that widening that road is the county's responsibility, and we're going to gradually work towards getting that done, those intersections at 41 and 200 could use some help. And the two of them had a conversation about it, and while they didn't promise anything, what was said was, we think we can help you out there. And so that was incredibly encouraging for both of those intersections. And I believe they broke some news that Crystal River will be getting their long desired golf cart crossing on Highway 19. They had identified three different locations, and DOT has decided that they are going to construct one there at Three Sister Springs, and then they're going to monitor it. They're going to study the safety of it, what's happening there, and whether or not they can safely add another one or two down the road. But I think that was news anyway that they broke, that Crystal River will be getting that golf cart crossing, which is big news to Crystal River and to District 1, I'll say. We found out, and I guess I've just been out of the loop on this, I did not realize that Samantha Scott had been elected to the House of Representatives. She's a representative-elect from Sumter County, and she and her husband, Sean Scott, as well as the family, naturally, have a tremendous amount of investment in the community, not just business-wise, but nonprofits and so forth. They are very involved. They've got places out over on the west side of the county. So we were super excited about that, and Representative Grow, who is very good friends with both of them, was excited to announce her as Citrus County's bonus representative. She's a very, very good friend of Citrus County. She'll be a great representative for Sumter County up in the House as well. And I've got to give props to Commissioner Bays. As many times as I've heard her talk about Secretary Alex Kelly, I honestly felt like I've known this guy for years now. We hear the name, we hear the name, we hear the name. And then it was Wednesday morning. I think Wednesday morning, there was a group of us that went to meet with him. And repeatedly during that meeting, here's the Secretary of State Commerce for the state of Florida keeps talking about Commissioner Bays. And I'm going, well, Mr. Secretary, she talks about you constantly as well. Now, how can you get us some money? And he sat there and rattled off a number of different ways that we can get some grant money. One of the things that was interesting was when he talked about their target industries. Target industries, one of them was maritime business. And he said, we're not just talking about moving freight, shipping freight, stuff like that. You've got big ports that do that kind of stuff. We're talking about boat manufacturing, small boat manufacturing, large boat manufacturing. And he brought up the county's initiative to potentially have some type of port operation up on the barge canal. And that is when you've got the Department of Commerce is interested in doing, that's one of their target industries. Well, I tell you, it sure opens an awful lot of doors if this land swap is successful. So props to Commissioner Bays, well known in the Department of Commerce.
Well, and that was kind of why I was anxious to have Ms. Strickland give her presentation, because we've been working diligently with her to potentially, and Secretary Kelly, about the possibility of getting some funding for a school out at the Inverness Airport to teach some, maybe some mechanics for helicopters. There's no maintenance program from Miami to Tallahassee, just some different type of school and industry to give our kids and people that live here better job opportunities. So, and they do have programs where they can help fund that. So that was part of our other reasoning for that.
It was a great meeting.
We'll look forward to her presentation. I knew it was on the schedule. I just don't know which meeting she chose or that they put her on.
February 26th.
February 26th.
And it's due to, she couldn't make it any sooner because of the surgery.
Okay, makes sense. Are you all finished?
I'm done.
Okay. Commissioner Barrick.
Well, I also miss Tallahassee, but I also want to thank all those people that sent me get well wishes, and I am back, and I hope to do a good job for you. Thank you.
Glad to see you're well. I did make the trip to Tallahassee, and I just want to give a shout out to School Superintendent Scott Hebert and Sheriff Dave Vincent. We spent the better part of an entire day together with our appropriate lobbyists, and we had many, many appointments. That was for the public training, the regional public training safety facility. And, but because that was their priorities, they had no problem. I used all those meetings to discuss all of our priorities for the county. So it was a great opportunity, especially to the appropriation chairs. They understood how important these were to Citrus County. A lot of them had some connections with Citrus County. You'd be surprised how many people up there have visited or have had homes here and just loves this community. So it was a very good trip. And just in other social events, still talked about private money coming into a sports complex. So that was very nice. So it just seems like every day, wherever we went and touched on some different things, it was very positive for Citrus County. So thank you to each one of you for the efforts, and even those that couldn't come. We know the efforts we all put into trying to bring our people's tax dollars back home to Citrus County. So thank you all, board. Ms. Lynn.
I have nothing, ma'am. Thank you.
We are open to the public. It seemed like our numbering system has went by the wayside today, but there's not too many of you. Come on, Bob.
I'm sorry, I really should not have pressed myself and say I'll come now, but I have too many things to talk about. So I only get two occasions, and this is the same. I want to circle back to legislative days. And at the very end, we had one of the speakers at the luncheon from Florida Tax Watch. And there was a very, very good portfolio. If you didn't get it, try to get your hands on it. Very good analysis of all of the counties in Florida. And the one that probably really popped out in my mind was Schedule C. I encourage you to look at Schedule C, because what it is it does an analysis of the population in each county and the expenditures of each county relative to the population. So what is that? There should be a balance between the population growth and the expenditures. You can have a county that has very low population and very low expenditures, or does the opposite, way much higher expenditures but doesn't have the tax base. And then you have the opposite, a real high population and out a lower or even an extremely high expenditure. But I'm really happy. If you take the Excel spreadsheet, basically what it is, and really analyze it, you'll find, guess which county is almost exactly in the center, in the sweet spot in terms of the balance? Citrus County, right? Almost dead in the center. So congratulations. Unfortunately, they didn't have the 2025 information. This is 2024 in earlier years. But congratulations, because it means, just that Schedule C means that our performance is right on financially. It's really good. I just want to make one more comment. Commissioner Barrick, maybe I understood incorrectly, but the dark blue spot was a permeability of water into the aquifer. I stand corrected, but I think that's what it is. The dark blue spot was the highest permeability. That is the area you do not want to build on. I think that you said you do want to build on it. In my opinion, and I stand corrected, that is the area you do not want to build on for permeability into the aquifer. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
I'm back earlier. I'm Joe from Beverly Hills. And earlier I spoke generically about the commoditization of compute in data centers. And now I'm going to exercise my legal right to talk about the Land Development Code request because it's coming before the board for your decision and holder. This can be very positive for the county. There's 6 things that we really need to focus on. These are outlined in your letter, but I want to get it on the record because it's my right to do so. And I resent the idea that you all should be asked to decide all these complicated things only in the meeting. You've got a month and a half to get educated and come up to speed. So the areas are, I think that a water usage metric, like a water use effectiveness metric, you can base that on a Microsoft or Meta global standard. And these would be very positive because they lower cost for data center operators and they make the data center more effective to operate. The second one that we need to address before the meeting and before it is approved and before we have the conversation is noise limits and setbacks. In the event of turbines and stuff, they're quite noisy. And they also have very low frequency noises that go a long, long, long way. In the current application, I noticed a 500 feet thing. I noticed no indication of walls or anything like that to block this low frequency hum. It travels for miles and miles and miles. The third one is full cost recovery. This is the most exciting one for the county because we're in the game and we're playing the game. And so we can have the data center operator upfront, kind of like concurrency, but it's required for the approval that they fund the necessary infrastructure. So cost for electricity can never be shifted over to the citizens of the county. You see, we're in the game. The next county over, they're going to pay those extra electric bills, but we're in the game so we can protect our citizens. Emissions control is the fourth one. These diesels and turbines do downstream. Sometimes there's a lot of it, and the waste gas is easily regulatable in advance. Very difficult after the fact. Light pollution I hit on a little bit earlier. Literally the security requirements for encrypted data centers are very stringent. You can light the sky with those things. Hurricane resilience, remember that in the recovery after a hurricane, the resources needed to get the data center back online, if it's not properly legislated in advance, those resources are competing with the citizens to recover from the hurricane. Gas, fuel, trucks, all these things go to the data center. Those have to be done in advance. So that's my input to the upcoming Land Development Code. And thank you for not objecting to my First Amendment right.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Thank you.
All right, Curtis Bryant, LaCanto. Short and sweet. Thank you, each of you guys, for the work you guys did in Tallahassee. I know 3 of you guys were up there. And thank you guys, the ones that weren't able to go. I know that you guys are out in the community doing things and trying to do better for the county. So just wanted to publicly thank you guys for the hard work. And thank you to the Chamber for organizing the event for the public to bring a bunch of people from the county up to Tallahassee to advocate for Citrus County. So thank you guys for that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I will close open to the public. Reese, take it away.
Can I make just one comment?
Of course.
Just to Mr. Hicks, it's been just kind of reading up on a lot of these data centers. It looks like counties are requiring them to pay tariffs, if you will, to get the lines in. So that's a cost that would be borne by them. And then as far as rates and recovery and any of that other, most of that that has to go through the PSC at the state, the Public Safety Commission at the state level, and they regulate that. So I think that I know that there's a bill going through legislation right now on consumer advocacy on this. So most of this, I think, would go back through the Public Safety Commission, but the legislators are very aware of it and making sure that the citizens are not going to bear any of those costs.
We're going to end this meeting. You can get with her right after. Is that all? Board? Yes. Anybody else? Reese.
So item R, advisory board announcements. R1, announce vacancies, Citrus County Veterans Services Advisory Board. Announce the terms of 2 positions and the taking of applications. The terms will be for 2 years, which began on April 1st, 2026, and will end on March 31st, 2028.
Thank you, Reese. If there's nothing else, board, we will have this meeting be put into recess until 5:01.
Chair, it's 5:01.
Whenever you're ready, of course.
Okay, so we are looking at a draft ordinance. So, why does it still say draft? Okay, so commissioners, at the conclusion of today's public hearing, is it noticed? At the conclusion of today's public hearing, you're going to be asked to consider an ordinance of Citrus County, Florida, political subdivision of the state of Florida, amending ordinance number 2012-06, the Citrus County Land Development Code as amended relating to Cardinal Street Interchange Management Area by adding a new section, 2424, Cardinal Mixed Use District, CMU, and new sections 3420 through 3426, Cardinal Mixed Use District, CMU. Purpose and intent, implementation, applicability, permitted uses, prohibited uses, and development standards, providing for severability, providing for conflicts of law, providing for codification, providing for modification that may arise from consideration at public meetings, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
Eric.
Chair, for purposes of introduction, I'll just open with a zoomed out view. You may think Cardinal IMA, haven't we already seen that before? Like 2 times, 3 times? Why is it back? So large picture is there's 2 steps in adoption of an IMA. There is the comprehensive plan, and then there's the land development code. You adopted the comprehensive plan years ago, and then there was a request for changes to be made. So staff did those internally, and then we brought it back and brought the amended comprehensive plan. So you've actually adopted the comprehensive plan twice. But now, following the comprehensive plan the second time is the land development code, which mirrors the comprehensive plan. So this actually is our ordinance. It's been vetted by it's been heard by the PDC. They recommend approval. It's also been reviewed by the Builders Alliance. We have their recommended approval as well. And then with that, this has all been done in partnership with Wade Trim, our consultant, who has done our IMAs elsewhere in the county. And I'll let them take it from here and let them walk you through it.
Could you give me one moment, please? Before you give a presentation, I want to thank you for all the work. I know it's been a while and you all have done a great job. I need to talk to my board for a minute. So I often don't take a briefing unless I have big questions. And I met yesterday, and I know this is going to sound completely way out in right field, but I need to ask you all this question. We often say we need to plan for growth. We need to be proactive and not reactive. And this interchange to me has always felt like we're going to be reactive. We are planning for huge growth here on a lane, on a path where we don't even own enough right-of-way for expansion, and that concerns me a great deal. So I did get the history, and is it even possible to turn this around, which the answer is yes. The history was, there was parts of the IMA, and then that big swath known as Cardinal Farms kind of added in later, and we're not prepared. We are not prepared with the road capacity for this at all. So obviously I want to work together with all of you as a board, but when we say we want to manage growth and we want to plan accordingly, this has never settled right with me. So I want to ask you all, before we move on, if you have an appetite to change this, to do something different, and not ignore all this great work, because I think there will be a time for this, but we need to think about this proactively for roads and traffic, and how are we going to even manage all of this when it comes? And I feel like as a commissioner, I can't move on until I say that and kind of know where you all are with this. And I'll leave it at that, if anyone cares to respond.
I can appreciate that it would have been nice to have all of the right-of-way for Cardinal, have a plan for building out Cardinal. I think that is likely decades from now. I think the development of this interchange is like outside of, little pieces here and there. I think it's likely decades from now. I'm ready to move forward with it. I want to put this thing at least to bed. We've got other IMAs that we need to move on to, and I'm ready to bring some finality to this interchange and let it develop as the professionals have planned.
And this doesn't feel like sprawl, like placing something in this very rural area with no way to move the traffic. Obviously, the Parkway would be a way, but not in county, which that's where everyone's going to go into Homosassa.
Like it was rural Citrus County. It was rural cattle country. It was ag, and then we drug a limited access highway through the middle of it and put an interchange right there. Is that the best place for an interchange? No. It should have been at Homosassa Trail. That didn't happen. So I think that there's Grover Cleveland. I'm sorry. There's been an awful lot of planning. There's been a lot of hours put in this. There's been a lot of money spent on getting this IMA right. We finally got everybody on board that it's the correct IMA. let's get this done, and then we have got to put our nose to the grindstone in getting these capacity projects on our roads at least moving.
And I'm not against, I think it is a good IMA. I'm just saying it might be good for the future, not today. Commissioner Bass.
I hear your concerns, but at the end of the day, we have to recognize the fact that the state has spent billions of dollars putting this Suncoast Parkway in. It was very deliberate on how it was planned out and where that exit is. We have also funded this year, in this budget year, the corridor alignment for that. It's going to come. I mean, whether, and I like to use the analogy, when you take Citrus Springs and Pine Ridge, that was 49,000 lots in the 70s when it was planned. There's still 27,000 lots available. So even, Commissioner Barrick brought up earlier today about Tuscany, that was approved in the 80s. It's a modernized, updated plan today. We won't see those houses for years. We won't even see the full development of the 27,000 lots that are still available through Citrus Springs and Pine Ridge for years. But our job today is not a planning, it's about planning for the future. And this is the roadmap on how we plan for the future. And I think if we are not prudent and we don't act on something like this, the state would be very upset with us. I think that would be something that they would not look favorably on after spending all this money on an interchange and the interchanges to come. This is just prudent planning for well into the future. I don't see anything happening, but I think once we do this, it also gives us another tool in our toolbox and with the comp plan to hold developers a little bit more accountable for what we do need. And I think it's a good planning tool.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I agree with my colleagues, and I was very, very early in my first year in office when we heard this, and I remember it being an exceptionally difficult thing to get through because essentially the tail's wagging the dog. They put the interchange there because they have a rule it has to be no further than 7 miles apart, right? Needed to be at Grover Cleveland from our druthers, right? So it is tail wagging the dog, and we've tried to make the best of it ever since. And we're on the way. And I concur with what they both said about we're not going to see it for a long time anyway.
Okay.
So appreciate you bringing it up, though.
Thank you. Commissioner Barrick?
Well, I agree with you. I've been coming to meetings, and I know that on 44, past boards have looked forward to the growth of 44, and there is land there that has similar to IMAs, but not considered, not given that designation. They have the shopping malls and whatever that are going to go on 44. I think we need to take a step back. Not every interchange off of the parkway has to have houses, has to have gas stations, has to have small convenience stores. There are lots of them that don't have that. And I think we need to take just a little bit of time and take a breath, like you said, and look before we jump. But that's my personal feelings.
Thank you. Yeah, 44, 46, they're definitely different because they already have the road capacity, and Cardinal Lane certainly does not. We're on the losing end of that. So in respect to our colleagues, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me just to, to give my opinion. It does not against any of the wonderful work that you've done working with the county. I know you've done some other interchanges for us, and they are important. I agree with that. I'm very worried about that road and that interchange in particular. The county is not ready, but we will move on, and hope this board will have to, and we are prioritizing to get that up to speed, like Commissioner Bass said. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much. I will be brief because I had a tremendously abbreviated but excellent introduction to this. So I'm just going to go over the history of the project real quick, and then how we ended up here today, and then what you're looking at today for consideration. So this all started back in 2019. The Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, at the time when FDOT was planning the Suncoast Parkway 2 extension up into Citrus County, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council prepared a study of the parkway interchanges and the land use dynamics around them. Out of that study, the county selected the focused growth scenario to move forward in terms of the type of land uses to put adjacent to the interchanges. Since 2019, that has been considered and amended, or the comprehensive plan has been considered and amended by the county twice. First time was in 2021, the second time was in 2024. And throughout that cycle of comprehensive plan amendments, we were working on developing land development code updates to implement them. So to be clear, the comprehensive plan establishes the policies for this area. The land development code updates implement those policies in terms of standards and regulations. So again, starting from August 6th, 2024, when the most recent amendment occurred, we've been working on updating the land development code. Back in the beginning, RMA, Redevelopment Management Associates, in 2022 prepared a market analysis for this area. And that market analysis identified the possible commercial market for this area in terms of both light industrial, technology, co-working, those types of uses, as well as interchange and parkway related uses. So things like gas stations, convenience stores, and so forth, but also balanced with housing and design guidelines that would essentially make this a more compatible community to the landscape that's out there today. Over the course of the last few years, there have been a number of public engagement activities, starting with a project website in 2022. There were stakeholder and public meetings in 2022. There were 2 then. At that time, we heard about compatibility concerns, as well as the interest in having more access to some of those parkway-related uses, as well as housing. And continuing in 2022, the Planning and Development Commission met, as well as the Board of County Commissioners, and they both workshopped this area. So at that time, more specific standards were being generated for the Land Development Code. In 2023, there was a stakeholders meeting, as well as a Planning and Development Commission meeting as well, another workshop to discuss the balance of uses in the EDTA versus the mixed use sub areas, and I'll explain what those are in a moment. So the outcomes of those engagement activities and the workshops that were held really between 2022 and 2023 were a narrowing down of the standards in terms of clarification, definitions, and really defining what would be the design characteristics out there, the design standards that would be applied in terms of implementing the land development code portion of the IMA. So on August 6, 2024, that most recent comprehensive plan amendment, the primary changes that came out of this, and there were many adjustments to the policies at that comprehensive plan amendment, but the main ones were that it removed the requirement that at least one of the land uses be residential in the mixed use sub area. And then it also reduced the minimum project size. So previously, in the original comprehensive plan amendment dating back to 2021, the minimum project size was 8 acres and 18 acres, respectively, to the EDTA and the mixed use. Now that's reduced to 5 acres with an allowance for additional reduction in that minimum project size by PUD. Additionally, the density was adjusted in the most recent comprehensive plan amendment, establishing a maximum of 6 dwelling units per acre with the opportunity to go up to a maximum of 20 dwelling units per acre if specific criteria were met, and I'll go into that further as well. Also, it removed the maximum of 50% single-family detached units. There was a requirement for that previously. Now there's no cap on the ratio of single-family to other type of housing units. So there were some other changes that were made, but those were really the primary departures from the original comprehensive plan amendment. So working through past fall, really summer through fall, June through October, we developed a land development code draft, the beginnings of which are the ordinance that you received today is the conclusion. But we developed that draft in response to those latest comprehensive plan amendments, and then also made additional adjustments to the land development code based on things that we were hearing from county staff in terms of implementability. How could this be implemented or better implemented or explained and working with the current land development code. So we made changes there. And then took this back to the Planning and Development Commission on November 20th. So that was our most recent meeting with them, and just confirmed some of those major changes that happened with the most recent comprehensive plan amendment, confirmed that those made it into the land development code, and then provided some more clarifying language on the standards. So what you've received today went to the Planning and Development Commission on November 20th, and we've incorporated any feedback that we heard at that meeting into the version that you received. So this is the Cardinal Street IMA boundary. The area shown in blue or turquoise, depending on how it looks on your screen, that is the Economic Development Target Area, or the EDTA, where non-residential use is proposed. So those would be parkway-related uses, light industrial, office, and similar non-residential uses. And then the area that's still within the overall red outline but is not highlighted in blue or turquoise is the mixed-use sub-area. And in that area, other uses are encouraged, such as residential, commercial, some of the more neighborhood-focused activities and mixed use. So the land development code updates, we began really with chapter 7, which was in the transportation chapter of the land development code. There was a section in there already for the interchange management areas. So many of those standards were just directly pulled over from the existing chapter 7 of the land development code. Once we did that, we relocated and reorganized the standards accordingly, creating a more organized structure. And then we added edits to Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 of the Land Development Code, which are the land use districts and the use standards. And those are specific to the cardinal mixed use, which is implementing the policies of the comprehensive plan most recently adopted in August 2024. So to describe that in more detail, Chapter 2 really covers the permitted and prohibited uses, coverage, open space, floor area ratio, and density. That's the land use districts chapter. And then Chapter 3 is the use standards. So there we get into purpose and intent, implementation, applicability, permitted and prohibited uses more specifically explained, and then development standards. And there are a number of development standards outlined in Chapter 3 for the cardinal mixed use. So Chapter 2, the land use districts, we pulled over the most recently adopted policy information. So this is where a floor area ratio of 1.0 was established in the comp plan. So we brought that over to the land development code. The minimum density, the maximum density, and that allowance for up to 20 dwelling units per acre if the project includes gathering areas, parks, schools, libraries, and other community facilities or amenities. So that bonus is only allowed if that criteria is met. And then also any density bonus mandated by for local government implementation by Florida statute. Chapter 3, use standards. This is where we get into the purpose and intent. So as I mentioned, that EDTA area is really focused on job producing, light industrial, and transportation related uses per the policy and the comprehensive plan. And then the mixed use area is focused on local and community commerce, retail, office, and residential uses. We have a section on implementation, how this would be implemented, comprehensive plan amendment, atlas amendment, and PUD. And then the applicability, what are the geographic limits of the area, vested lots, minimum project size and lot aggregation capabilities, the vested non-conforming uses, and activity triggers. Also in this chapter, we talk about permitted uses, the mix of uses, horizontal or vertical distribution of uses, ancillary uses, and then the provisions for pedestrian connections. So Chapter 3 then goes on to talk about development standards and really specifically site development standards. So I'm not going to read all of these, but think about things like landscaping, buffering, signage, lighting, anything that you would consider a design guideline really for a site plan. And then in this section or chapter, we also included graphic support. So standards that may need additional explanation are supported by graphics to clarify their meaning. Chapter 3, also, and under the development standards, we added building and architectural standards. This has to do really with massing and building height, mix of uses, architectural styles, and building materials. And then additionally, talking about parking, bicycle, pedestrian access, and transit. We do know that there is a trailhead out there from the Suncoast Parkway, so we included standards related to that, and also requirements for trail access for projects directly abutting Cardinal to provide an easement to provide access to that trail, because we wanted development coming in to really connect to that and benefit from that opportunity for pedestrian and bicycle connectivity. And then access management. Much of the access management standards that are included in the ordinance that you have today are relocated from Chapter 7. So these are simply moved over and pulled from Chapter 7 to here. And then finally, requirements for open space, utilities. We talked quite a bit about utilities at the last Planning and Development Commission meeting. So we included the language that we received, or the directive we received from them in this latest ordinance version, and then environmental and historic and cultural resources provisions as well. So these are the Land Development Code updates for your consideration. Again, modifying Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 of the Land Development Code to include new sections for the Cardinal mixed use. And with that, we're available to answer any questions.
Board, do you have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that complete the presentation? Okay, I'll open it up to the public. Any public comment? Yes, sir. You have to come to the microphone, state your name and where you live. Yes, it has to be public record, not my rules.
I don't like these things.
It's okay, it won't bite.
I've been on Cardinal.
State your name and where you live.
John Moscas. I have a tree farm on Cardinal, Nick's Nursery. I think it's a great idea to develop Cardinal. We're people there too. We have a larger community than you think. I know when you drive down Cardinal, you see junkie trailers and you think it's rural, no man's land, but there's a lot of people there, and we need to have some kind of commerce. That area, to me, you know, we would like to be able to get a sandwich too. We would like to be able to have a gas station as well. It's a great idea to develop it. I know there's concern about going crazy and doing things that maybe the old timers don't appreciate, but we like to have something going on as well. The rest of the county is growing, and you're watching all of these projects over, and then Cardinal Street, we can't even, well, the only thing we want there are junkie trailers. It's time to move forward. I heard your concern, you know, you don't have the right of way and the traffic. Time to move, it's growing. But at the interchange, please allow something. It's too long. It's an evacuation route. People, how many times people stop at the farm and where's the nearest gas station? Where's the nearest? There's something by the interchange. There's so much traffic coming through there. It's time to develop it a little bit. I'm not saying put a shopping mall, but geez, wouldn't it be nice to be able to fill up your tank? The closest place, you go from the interchange and somebody has to drive down to the marathon, the heroin den. A young lady in the middle of the night has to drive down to the heroin den to get gas. And I'm not kidding. I 40-some years I've been watching it. Now, it's time to move a little bit. I know it's hard in that area because of the locals, but need to find a way to do some commerce there. All right.
Thank you.
They
I
got a great
appreciate
idea.
you.
I think it sounds like they have a great idea.
Thank you for your comments. I'm glad you're here. Anyone else? Last chance. All right, I'm closing open to the public. So board, thank you for hearing my earlier concerns. Obviously, this is moving forward and these are good updates. So of course I will be in the affirmative, but does anyone have anything they'd like to say? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
When I listened to what John had to say, he's a resident there and he says, you know, it needs to be growing. Are you really going to be happy with all the noise and the traffic that's going to occur? Because you've lived there all this time, and
I don't
now,
think you live there though, right?
Yeah, he has. He said he was there.
I came here in 82. My family came a year before I did, and we've watched it grow.
Yes, I'm sorry. You can't talk from there. Thank you. No, that's okay. Thank you.
You can't ask.
Sorry.
But the thing is, it's nice to look forward to growth, okay? And some growth, but an interchange thing that's gonna eventually be 4-laned, it'll be 2 each direction, is not the same as what you're thinking, okay? And that's why I agreed with the other commissioner that we need to maybe step back a little, but if this is what the board wants, I'm not gonna say no, so.
Commissioner Davis?
Madam Chair, motion to approve OA
Second.
dash 2025 dash 00002, Cardinal Interchange Management Area, and direct the chair and clerk to execute the ordinance.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Davis and a second by Commissioner Kennard. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And this meeting's adjourned.